Good evening. I'd like to call the September 24th, 2018 Old Bridge Town Council meeting to order, please. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment of silence for those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and tonight we'd like to honor some residents that here in Old Bridge. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. Tonight we're going to remain standing for Mrs. Ann Miller, who is always at these meetings, that's not joining us tonight, and former Mayor Art Haney. I would ask for a few moments of silence as I say a few words about both. Both were pillars of our community, and our thoughts and prayers are with both families. Mrs. Miller was always here for the community and was always involved in the community. Ann passed suddenly but peacefully earlier this month. Her wake and memorial service speaks volumes about Ann Miller. Usually when someone of that age passes away, the number of people attending the ceremony and services is very small. You can usually count them on one hand. Ann's was standing room only and attended by many, many family and friends. Ann lived a very long life. Ann lived a very productive life. But most of all, Ann was a good person, and she led a very kind life. She will be missed, but she will be thought about frequently. And now, former Mayor Art Haney. He was also very involved in our community, and he had a huge impact on this community when he served as mayor, and continued as he served in other roles within the community. He, too, will be missed but remembered frequently. And now what I would ask Councilwoman Nita Greenberg to continue for Mr. Art Haney.
With heart and much sadness that I ask for a moment of silence for former Mayor Art Haney. Art served this town in many capacities. He served as councilman, mayor, and then he was a freeholder of Middlesex County. But he had a love for this community, and he had a vision for this community. And after he finished with his elected terms, he didn't forget Old Bridge. He continued to serve here on many local boards. He was also executive director of the MUA, and in the county, he was on the Middlesex County Tax Board for 20 years. We are blessed to have a man like Art. He had excellent leadership skills. He was dedicated, he had experience, and he had a vision, and that's why we have the beautiful library that we do today. I was blessed to call him my friend. I will miss forever his infectious smile and his kind heart. And as I will miss him, I will never forget him. Please keep Art and his family in your prayers, his loving wife of Carol of nearly 50 years, his two children, Sean and Carolyn, and their spouses, and his 4 beautiful granddaughters that he adored. Thank you very much for this time.
Now the prayer, Mr. Peschitti.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give them quiet minds and hearts that they may hear thy voice. Keep them to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give them strength to oppose the wrong, uphold the right, and grant that they have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
I just hold it and dial. Hope she redials quickly. Yeah, I'll just stall for a few minutes. You told her to dial now? I told her to redial. Yep.
Just say you're having a little issue.
Well, they can't really do anything until I start calling, so. Hello, Debbie. Can you hear us? Yes, yes, we can hear you. Just hang on a moment.
Okay.
Mrs. Brown? Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Cahill?
Here.
Dr. Greenberg? Present. Mr. Merwin?
Present.
Mr. Murphy?
Present.
Mr. Viscitti?
Present.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Here.
Mrs. Walker? Here. And President Soho?
Here.
9 present. We have Mrs. Walker on the phone this evening.
Okay, all right. First will be a presentation.
This meeting is held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, October 8th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Soho.
Yes, thank you very much, Stella. Okay, first thing will be presentations. Mayor?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Here we are again in the council chambers giving out awards and certificates of appreciation to our Camp Robin athletes. And as you can see, we have a lot of them here tonight. So I'm so proud of them. But any program like this cannot function without leadership, volunteers, coaches, and people who want to get involved. So we're going to start off with that. I would ask Karen Lewicki to please join me at the microphone. Things like this happen because of people like Karen. She is just a leader in our community with the Special Olympics coming to Old Bridge this past year. We're looking forward to hosting it again. It's coming back. Great. So let's get started. We have a lot of athletes here, and they're ready to go.
Go, Karen.
Call the names. Karen will call the names.
Our swim program is growing each and every year, as our track and our ice skating, and it's just great to see the numbers increasing each and every year. Before I start giving out the certificates, I have 2 really big special thank yous, because if it wasn't for you, the parents of our athletes, we would not have the athletes here. So I don't ever really say thank you, but thank you from the bottom of my heart for your athletes. And I know my family is not here right now, but they give up hours and hours of not seeing me. I drag them to work with me so they can spend some hours with me. So even though they're not here tonight, I'd like to thank my family also for allowing me to have the hours to dedicate to our athletes. And our first coach this season, it goes out to John Rosalie.
Thank you, John. You got to give a speech, though.
Our next coach that is not here tonight is actually John's younger brother, Matt Rosalie, who is off defending our country in the Navy. And then Jamie Lynn and Tara Little, my daughters, are also not here tonight, but they're a big part of the program as well. And I'm sorry to say that Valerie and her husband Nick are not here this evening, and they will be leaving us this coming season as he goes further into his career with the military as well. They will be leaving us to start a new life in Texas.
Very nice.
And no program would be complete without our volunteers as well. So Dan Antonazzi.
Congratulations, Dan. Thank you so much.
He lives in Country Place. Probably. None of them
Want to get this chair anyway?
No, we're good.
Is something wrong?
Okay, in no random order. I'm not going to read first and last names. My swimmers know who they are. Our first award goes out to Kyle.
You got 2 Kyles?
How's that last name they worked out? That's why we use last names.
I know. Think about that for a second. Our next swimmer, Lexi. Matt Benetti. That's a name that flows.
Congratulations, Nancy. Good job.
Rosemary.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you.
Rosemary was a first-time swimmer this year, and when she got in the pool the first time, we were all a little leery if she was going to make it to the other side. And now she's going back and forth like it's nothing. Lewis. Anthony Downing.
Congratulations. Yes, we were very proud of you.
Good job, man.
Good job. Okay, go ahead and go sit
Go
down.
take a seat, dude. Good job.
You're kind too. Go ahead. I got to give somebody else,
Good
okay?
job. Take a seat.
Tyler Engelhart.
Tyler. Not yet, bud.
Not yet.
Other Tyler.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Our next swimmer, is this working?
Yes.
Our next swimmer also joined us this past summer at National Games. She was a youth ambassador for the Unified movement. Unified is just pushing inclusion all over schools and the workforce and just everything we do. So our biggest ambassador, Paige Giusulo. Natalie. Victoria. Robbie Lou. Max Medeiros.
Matthew. Max. How you doing, Max? How you doing? Good?
Evie. Paul.
Paul here? Come on, Paul. Congratulations, Beth. Good job. Proud of you, baby.
If you want to give me a shout out.
Dylan. I also would like to say tomorrow is Dylan's birthday, so happy birthday, Dylan.
Congratulations, Dylan, and happy birthday.
Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler. Now we got the right Tyler. Congratulations. Good job.
Scott Solomon.
Hi. How you doing? Good to see you again. I saw you Saturday.
And last but not least, Tyrone.
Hello, Tyler. Track? Nothing. Now we're going to go track? Yep. Okay. Track team.
No, we'll talk, Rich? Rich?
Rich. Okay, these are yours. Sorry. This is mine.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Vasello, coach of the track team. Well, actually, co-coach with Rich Antonazzi. And we have some outstanding athletes. Before we start, we do want to give a special thanks to Pete Pirro and Barbara Anderson, who help support our program. And co-coaching with me is Rich Antonazzi. And we've been privileged with two volunteers, Joe Puccio and Rodney Shoham.
Joe, thank you so much. Joe.
Also, when we do go to summer games, we have some volunteer parents who help out. Annette Antonazzi. Claudia here? Is Claudia here? And also Claudia Puccio. She's not here, but wife. The wife. The husbands will take it. All right. Now for the athletes, we have Sal Lupino.
Congratulations. Good job.
I didn't see Darsh here, but Darsh to say, but I don't believe he's here, so we'll hold on to that. Next one is Nick Ruley. Okay, Kyle Dowling.
Now we got the right path.
No. Yamaj.
Good job, Nicola.
Yeah, I think so.
Tommy Antonazzi.
Tommy, congratulations. Good job. Good job.
Christopher Marquez.
Oh, you're close, man.
Myvie Wynn. Stephanie Puccio. Joey Pilchuk. Some of the athletes also did a relay race, and they're going to get a second certificate. Sal Lupino. Christopher Marquez. Yep. Chris, that's you again. You again. Myvie. Stephanie. Kyle. And Yamaj. And then, of course, those athletes who couldn't be here tonight we'll take with us.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Congratulations to everyone. Yep. Yes, thank you everyone for coming, and hopefully you have a good evening. Congratulations to everyone, and we'll resume the meeting in a few minutes.
She'll be there for a while. Tell her to keep the party and quiet in the background. Tell her to go in the room. Did you give John his pretzels?
I'm gonna right now. That's what I'm doing. No, I'm gonna give it to him right now.
Oh, what is that for?
No, he's with the...
Yeah, you better not make it. What is she doing? Oh my God.
He plays, I coach him. He plays baseball, soccer, wrestling.
They are active.
I've been coaching. Freehold has a good challenger program. It's obviously a lot closer. But we on Sunday, so we just started basketball, and they wrote me in the coaching.
I gave John his pretzels, so John, hopefully you'll be okay.
Okay,
Would be
good.
crazy.
Okay.
I think she's in the lady pond and scaling.
Is she gonna vote on everything for us?
Yes, she is.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she
Okay, good
is.
girl, Debbie. You hang in there, Deb. We're right here, next to you.
No, she'll be, you know.
I'm here. Oh, good girl.
Okay, honey, we're getting there,
Yeah,
Deb.
we're getting
Right,
there.
babe?
We're getting there. I know it's not the same as us in person, but we're here. Okay, are we ready?
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
you ready?
Okay, now we're ready to resume the meeting. Okay?
You have to talk a little bit.
Yeah, no, I will. Okay, can I please have some, we're going to resume the meeting now, okay? And that was a wonderful presentation. This is going to be approval of minutes of previous meetings. Yeah, combined previous meetings. June 18th, 2018.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Zohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is executive session, June 18th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
I checked with the attorney. Was this one of the ones where I had to be out?
On the 18th?
I'll abstain so we
Yeah,
don't
just,
hold the
I'm not
meeting
sure,
up, but
Mr.
I'll
Merwin, what
abstain.
contents.
Right.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Zohar?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstention.
Bill list, Mr. Cahill.
Accounts payable, September 24th, 2018, $31,429,493.03.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Murphy.
Yep.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Zohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, August 17th, 2018, $1,030,192.04. $166.68.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Murphy, second by Dr. Greenberg.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, August 17th, 2018, $41,634.78.
Second.
Do I have a breakout, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, Council President, thank you. As Councilman Cahill indicated, the total overtime was $41,634.78. That payroll included a retro pay for our Teamster employee. If you recall, the council had approved the contract settlement, and so this payroll included the retroactive pay for that settlement period. The police officer sworn overtime was $30,837.32. When you deduct for grants, $876.99, and deduct for ETO, earned time off, $6,728.11. The net overtime for this period was $23,232.22, representing 513.25 man and women hours. During this period, one officer was injured on duty.
Okay, so we had a motion by Mr. Murphy
Yes.
and a second by Mr. Merwin.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, August 31st, 2018, $881,080.61.
Do I have a motion? Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, August 31st, 2018, $42,874.90.
Do I have a second, and then we'll do the breakout? Second. Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli and Mr. Shaw.
Yes, thank you, Council President. As again, Councilman Cahill indicated, the total overtime was $42,874.90. There was no specific uptick during that period. The sworn officers' overtime was $36,983.56. When you deduct for grants, $457.56, and ETO, $6,677.80. The net overtime was $29,848.20, representing $634.25 hours and same one officer was injured on duty.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, September 14th, 2018, $852,088.84.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, September 14th, 2018, $40,725.27.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Shaw?
Yes. As Councilman Cahill indicated, the total overtime was 40,725.27. This pay period includes overtime related to saltwater day activities. The sworn officer overtime was $32,111.11. When you deduct for ETO, 4,971.08. The net overtime for that period is $27,140.03, representing 549.50 men and women hours. One officers continue to be injured on duty during this period.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Sohor?
Yes.
9 yes.
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you, Councilman Cahill.
You're welcome.
Next will be public hearings and ordinances for second reading. H1, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Texas Roadhouse Holdings, LLC, Bubba's, Strategic Restaurant Concepts, LLC, Route 9 and Ernston Road, Block 5000, Lot 3, application number 3-15Z. Good evening, Mrs. Shapiro.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President. I'm not sure if we proceed if I don't see somebody.
Wait, someone is coming up. Okay. That's what I was thinking too. I'm looking. Hi. Good evening.
So this is an application that was in front of our zoning board. It's for the expansion of the building that now houses Texas Roadhouse. On the side of the building, there's now currently, which has opened up recently, a Bubba's restaurant. Associated with that expansion was then shuffling around a little bit of the parking lot, the curbing, the drainage, the lighting, the landscaping. With that said, everything was completed. So the performance guarantee that was posted for the project was $267,918, of which in the form of bond was $126.20, 10% of which was in cash, $26,791.80. There have been no previous reduction on the guarantee. We do recommend release based on our most recent inspection for it. There's no other condition other than the fact that any outstanding escrow fees need to be paid, and there is no maintenance guaranteed required on the project.
Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Murphy.
I'll move it.
Okay, I'd like to just open it up, I'm sorry, for the public first.
sorry.
If anyone in the public would like to be heard. Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion. And now, Mr. Merwin, you made a motion. Did anyone else have a comment?
I'd like to move it, but I'd also like the council to put her name on the record.
Oh, Janofsky.
Yeah.
Jillian Janofsky. Let me know if you need to spell it.
Okay, so it's Jillian
Janofsky.
Janofsky.
Janovsky.
Okay. And before the motion, does anyone else from the council have questions?
Need a second.
Second? Okay, so it's Mr. Merwin and Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Sohor?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Next will be ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 2018-22, amending ordinance chapter traffic, section 10-19, 7B of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge, location 1 Middlesex Boulevard, Cliffwood Beach, New Jersey, 07735. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Seeing no hands, close the public portion, and,
I'll move it, Madam Chairperson.
Second.
okay, moved by Mr. Merwin and second by Mr. Murphy? Okay. All right. Roll call?
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
Can I ask the lawyer if we can bypass the usual waiting period for that and just initiate that right away? Because that's the handicap.
I'll second it.
You can't bypass statutory authority. I mean, we get that, but there's still the 20-day period after it's signed, so
So there's-
you can't vote to bypass what the state statute requires.
All right, what about that 20-day waiting?
That's statutory.
That's the statutory?
Correct, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So,
Madam
Yes.
Chairperson.
yes.
So the ruling is that we don't have the authority to
Correct.
waive the 20 days. I thought if we had 2/3 majority of the council that we could waive that.
No.
No? Okay.
All right. Are we good?
Wrong in the past then, all right.
Yeah, it is passed and it will happen. Absolutely. Okay. Next is 2018-23, accepting a drainage easement on block 3236.11, lot 22, to be granted to the Township of Old Bridge to maintain the drainage system between 66 and 70 Balmora Avenue. I will open this up to the public. Anyone in the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, close the public portion. I have a motion by Dr. Greenberg.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rizzoli. Okay. All right.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is 2018-24, bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $175,000 for the Energy Savings Improvement Program in and by the Township of Old Bridge in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, and authorization the issuance of $250,000 bonds or notes of the Township of Old Bridge for financing part of the appropriation.
Madam President?
First, we go to the public. Anyone from the public have any questions? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Pescitti.
Okay, on this bond ordinance, I asked for a specific financial statement, which I never received, so I will be voting no for this. Thank you.
I'll move it.
Wait,
We all got it.
I thought it was all,
Yeah, I thought that the Tozer Energy provided the information, and I don't have that in front of me, but I thought I exchanged the email with you saying you have received what you wanted, and I thought you said yes, but I could be wrong on that, but I know that they have responded and provided information.
The original question that I asked didn't get answered. They did respond, and I did get a brochure and some information.
excuse me, Mr. Pescitti, can you speak into the microphone so that we can have this on record, please?
Okay, sorry. I sent an email, which you forwarded to the gentleman, and I did get something, but I didn't get what I was asking for. So I followed up with another email, which I copied you on, and I did not get any response after that.
Okay, my recollection is that we did get a second respond.
Maybe I didn't get it.
Okay, well, I'll have to check.
You can't speak from the crowd, but
I moved it.
yeah.
She did move it, yeah. I seconded it, yeah.
So if you want to get further clarification from a representative, you can ask him to come forward.
Right.
Identify himself for the record.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to tell him to speak. Yeah, okay. Yeah, everybody, please just, yeah, make sure you speak into your microphone so everyone can hear. Thank you, Councilman. Good evening. Is he in? Kevin, are you on?
I'm sorry.
We just
it
having,
was
yeah,
off.
we're having some little
Thank
bit of
you.
an issue.
The
Thank you.
microphone was off. My apologies. The second email went out and it had addressed specific concerns of ESIP costs, what the specific improvements are, realized energy savings and future energy savings. There was a 17-page report with pictures detailing all of the improvements, a detailed breakdown of the values of each independent energy conservation measures, as well as ESCO fees, design fees, et cetera. A long detailed description of all of the improvements and scope items undertaken by each of the projects, pre-ESIP pictures, post-ESIP pictures. The example here is the roof. Air handling pictures, I can go on and on. This was all included with basically pre and post pictures of all the work completed. And then finally, energy savings, as well as graphs and charts converted into trees, dollars, et cetera, cumulative energy savings for gas and electric, and finally the calculations and the energy savings of the project across the full term of the project. Yes, sir. Yes, Councilman Murphy.
Is that the one where we'll save $2 million after 20 years or something?
6.1, I believe the final number is 6.1 million.
After 20 years?
Over the course of 20 years, correct.
And how much we spent for the project?
What was the final amount, Josh? Remember off the top of your head? 4.1?
4.1.
Just under 4.1, correct.
Yeah, I don't think that's even worth it, but I'm not going to vote yes either.
Want to save money?
The purpose of
That's a lot of money.
the purpose of the ESIP program is so that a boiler, something like a boiler, can be replaced without out of money pocket. So basically, along with that, the equipment is new and doesn't now need to be replaced. There doesn't need to be a bond referendum to replace the equipment going forward. The energy savings are paying for the equipment is the whole purpose of the ESIP program.
Okay, I did get the response. That was the first response, which was your brochure and your breakdown. But I did send an email on August 23rd, and I was asking for the detailed financial sheet. Did you receive that?
The detailed
Went to Kevin Keenan.
The detailed financial sheet, I responded with this, and I believe I followed up with you if you needed anything else. Yeah, the costs were sent and vetted with Dawn. The financials of the project, as far as monies in, monies out, as well as savings, was all provided in this packet.
Can I speak, please? I'm Josh Castell. To address your question, this isn't conjecture. The work has been done. The work was done under a contract according to state law called ESIP legislation. Now, I'm trying to understand what the question is, whether the work wasn't done, the work was done, whether the question over spending $4 million saves you $6 million over the 20 years, that was a plan that was submitted to both third-party review that was hired by the township and then submitted to the Board of Public Utilities, and both of them approved it as conforming to the ESIP legislation. And the purpose of it is to enable public institutions and municipalities to do infrastructure upgrade without adding to the tax burden of, the public here. And that's why it was the way it was, the reason why the legislation was structured, because you didn't, have to go, because it's considered self-funding, meaning that every year it will generate positive savings to pay the debt service. And so I want to make sure that I can answer the right question when you said that, your thoughts on what the program does or doesn't do. It had to meet very strict requirements.
Okay, big question was, I thought it was all paid for. What's this 166,000? That a change order? That was a later fee that didn't exist.
Right, the 166,000 is it was for additional work that was done that would still generate the savings to self-fund it. The reason being is that the bid process is a public bid. So we go out under the public bid and we apply our fee to it. Sometimes there's if the bids come in higher, you still have to get the savings and figure out how to pay for it. If it comes in lower, we don't keep the money. The savings go to the town. So normally there's pluses and minuses on it. And because we have to publicly bid and we're not allowed to negotiate it, we're not sure at times what the market condition will be from when we estimated the job to when we go out. The goal, though, is to ensure that we get the savings.
Okay, is the job complete now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you knew before then you had to know the 166,000 was due before it was complete. Why weren't we notified back then?
This is our fourth month here.
Yeah, but the job's been done for a while, right?
Some of the items were also, for example, one of the, pardon me, my microphone wasn't on. Some of the items, for example, we had to widen a trench because we found an underground water meter. So
Okay.
when we dug up the water meter, there was when we dug the trench,
That's understandable.
and we couldn't leave the trench open. It was right out in the middle here. So there were items like that. Other items were additional things found on the roof and when the roof's
Okay.
torn off. And there was some also additional roofing scope that makes up some additional
Okay.
cost. One more item with that was, one of the items was the original drawings from when the building was put in showed a conduit that we were going to pull wire through, having enough room. And when we dug up the conduit, we found that a smaller conduit had actually been installed, probably a site condition when the buildings were put in. So there wasn't enough room in that conduit. So when all of this was taken apart, those decisions were made in real time on the fly. So we could have stopped the job and left the giant trench in the middle when we said, no, we paid for it out of.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Madam Chairperson.
Yes, Mr. Merwin.
I believe it was your testimony the last time you were here that, and you've just said it again, that this 166 was an overrun, but that there was also like $300,000 of overruns. But you guys decided to bite the bullet on so much money.
The way
How do we know you're not supposed to be biting the bullet on this? This is above and beyond what it was supposed to cost us, so.
What was agreed to was that the way our contract is set up per ESIP law is that the hard costs, so the cost that we pay subcontractors to do the work, our fee is placed on top of that. So our fee that was publicly bid, and we were the lowest responsible bidder, and so if it's $1 million and our fee is 25%, we would put 25%, and that includes the investment grade audit, the engineering services, the startup, the commissioning, the construction management. What we had agreed to was, as we saw some of these things happening, we said we will freeze our fee. by contract, we could have come back for these additional monies and said, you also owe us an additional 25% on top of those, and we said to get the project done and to not, we didn't know that the underground meter was going to be there also. We didn't know that the conduit was going to be there also. So we will freeze our fee and not take the additional monies that were due to us. That includes our overhead and process.
Yeah, if I can expand on what freeze the fee means, is that we kept our fee at the exact original price. So there was our fee was not added on to the $300,000. In addition, we as a company wrote almost $100,000 out in change orders that we paid for to try to help the project and do what we needed to do to get the savings. So it would self-fund, and it does. So,
but that's my question is, you bit the bullet on that. Now, as an engineering firm that is going to plan out this elaborate energy savings program, wouldn't it be incumbent upon you to, when you're doing your investigation, make sure that that pipe was the right size? Why are we getting penalized because you didn't do your homework?
No, that's a fair question. And the challenge with the ESIP legislation, if this helps you understand, if I can explain it, is that the ESIP legislation doesn't have you do the engineering of the project until you submit your preliminary plan and it's approved. So the challenge that you have is that you're doing construction estimates without engineer drawings, which make it, as you can imagine, challenging. So we didn't find out about the pipe until you do your engineering aspect of the project. So the first part of the project, where you're doing what is referred to as the investment grade audit or the energy savings plan, is done at risk by us and no cost to the district, but at the same time, by your own RFP, there is, in the legislation, there's no engineering required during that aspect of it. So for those of you that I'm sure are in the construction business or aware, it's very challenging doing estimates without engineering drawings. And then we're doing the estimate when we finish it, and the financing of it may not occur for 4 months afterwards with the approval process. We then do the engineering. You then go out for your public bids, and a year could have gone by, which could have significant impact, either up or down, on what's going on in the marketplace from a cost perspective. So I'm not sure if that explains or helps you better explain what happens.
Well, it explains it. To the tune of $165,000. I don't know if that makes the taxpayers any happier, but could this program, the township could have done this program on their own without going into the ESIP program. They could have bonded $5 million and done all of these investments, all these improvements on their own, and realized more significant amount of money, could they not?
I'm not, if they
realized a more significant amount of money.
I'm not sure what that means.
If they would have saved even more money because they wouldn't have had to pay you, they wouldn't have had to pay the third party that did this originally, if the town had taken this all on their own and just bonded and went out and improved their infrastructure.
The town could have undertaken it on their own. You would have had to pay an engineer or architect, would have had to pay a construction manager, a commissioner, et cetera. I would argue that our fees are right in line with those projects. I would disagree with the statement that you would save more money from the savings aspect, because from an energy perspective, you look at the pictures, We optimize the boiler efficiency for the way the system works. So we don't put in the cheapest boiler. We find the boiler with the most cost advantageous life cycle cost analysis. And the big one is by doing this as a bundled project, you're eligible for the state grants. If you did them as individual projects, they're eligible for a smaller incentive called Smart Start. By bundling them as the project, they're eligible for the New Jersey State Paper Performance.
Well, that was one of the questions that had been asked.
Yes.
Did we receive that money from the state?
You've received incentive 1. You have incentive 2 is being signed off, and incentive 3 is in tracking. The state incentive comes in 3 parts. So the first part.
And whether those, how much are they? You have to understand something.
Yeah.
5 of us weren't here when this was done, and that's why we're asking the question.
I'm a school board member, and I understand when something drops on your lap and you're just doing your due diligence. Overall, I want to say $250,000, $300,000 is the number that's jumping into my head. But if you remember, that comes in 3 parts, and the second part cannot come until construction's completed, and construction is not complete. So we can't, the state asks us for invoices to make sure the project was done and the project's wrapped up, and right now the project is, while the construction's done, I can't say to the state the project is closed out.
Question for the attorney.
I'm listening.
If this was to fail, if this ordinance was to fail, what would the consequences to the municipality be?
Well, you basically would have the fact that you're not paying the balance of the contract. So arguably there'd be a breach of contract claim against the township, in which they would claim damages, and we'd be in litigation. And then then you potentially jeopardize the grant process, getting those monies, and so I think sitting here thinking of all the potential liabilities, I couldn't tell you that, but I think initially would be the breach, and then jeopardizing the grant process as well, which couple those together would be significant, obviously, hundreds of thousands of dollars. The other thing I wanted to just say, Mr. Merwin, you had mentioned about the do-it-yourself process, which back then that was a consideration. And then you looked at the analysis. I think one of the things that you said with respect to their fee, as part of the initial process, as Mr. Costello had said, they provided what their fee would be. And as he said, that fee did not change. When you look at the hard part about construction is that for all the different areas that they mentioned, we would have had to hire an architect, potentially outsource the engineering, and then, as he said, a construction manager. And you cannot, the way the state sees it, because I've done construction projects in other municipalities, the most difficult aspect of it is really the construction management. And it's very difficult and very costly when you go out and you do those 3 professionals separately. When you look at, and then we would have had to do that potentially for each of the different projects at different times. And then we would have had to do all the spec work. So I think sitting here and looking at what their fee was, I think the total fee was low of $300,000.
All in was $705.
What was the fee? Okay. So when you look at what their fee was and the amount of work that would have been done, it really is that area, the professional fee area, probably would not have been any savings, and it would have been very difficult to try to get all those different professions together in the multiple projects that this entailed. It becomes really difficult for each of the different phases, and then ultimately would have happened. It probably would have elongated the whole process, because we're handling the specs, going out to bid, because that's something that they all did while we reviewed them, but that was undertaken by them, and then going through that whole process. And that's just for like regular contracts that can take a couple months. So a project like this, just to get those going, would have elongated the whole process by years, and probably not resulted in any savings relative to the professionals.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'm satisfied. Thank you very much. I'm going to change my vote. I'll be voting yes for this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pischetti. Anyone else, council comments? Mr. Cahill?
I'd just like to, I'm sorry.
So, I voted for this originally. To me, it's a no-brainer. I appreciate that there are people on the council that weren't on the council when we first discussed this. I think it was a good exchange of ideas. The bottom line is that this pays for itself. We did not have to go out and bond, which is a cost to the taxpayer. The infrastructure is in place and will be paid for via savings that we receive from the new infrastructure. So to me, that's a good thing. Question. This is a legislation, and it's reviewed by the BPU. Did we follow the legislation to the letter, and did we follow all the rules set forth by the BPU?
We did.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
I'm done.
Mr.
Thank you.
Cahill. Mr. Murphy?
Okay, I just have basically a statement. I asked a question after I said it. I said, is the job complete? And there's a reason I asked it. I don't know which one of the councilwomen down there said, I can't tell the one on the phone or one of the other two. Sometimes I can't understand their voices, which is which. But I was not looking at charging the township money. I was looking at the jobs done. You're not going to start pulling things out. So, and for $186,000, I've worked with utilities. I understand that sometimes these work change orders come across because you didn't dig up to see what was there. But I just wanted on record, I've been accused by Mr. Shaw and by them that I don't like to save money for the town. That's what I was trying to do here. I was trying to save money, and I will change my vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
I'll move it.
Okay, anyone else comments? Everybody, you moved it, and second? Okay. Okay, we have a move, and we have a second, all right? Okay, so, you ready, Stella?
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here this evening. Okay, good night. Next is ordinance 2018-25, amending an ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge, Chapter 160 fees, Article 2, tax collector fees of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge, under Section 160-8, fees collected by the tax collector. I will open it up to the public. Anyone have questions? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion and now go to council. Does anyone have questions?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next, 2018-26, amending an ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge, Chapter 160 fees, Article 3, various goods and services of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge, under Section 160-17, Tax Office.
Move it.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public. Moved by Mr. Murphy,
Second.
second by Mr. Merwin.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is 2018-27, amending ordinance under Chapter 39 of the Township of Old Bridge, specifically Chapter 39 Animals, Article 2, Licensing and Regulation of Dogs and Cats, 39-25-1. Open to the public? Closed to the public? Moved by Dr. Greenberg. Second by John, okay, Mr. Murphy. It's hard to hear down there.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
And Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr.
Yes.
Pescetti? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the public preliminary portion shall first sign a list maintained by the Township Clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Anil Jamaat?
Good evening.
I'm here in reference to the new parking system.
Try to, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Now push the button.
Push the button down.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear myself also. This is in reference to the parking situation. I work in New York. I park at the Westminster parking lot, which is the Old Bridge lot. Originally, we had 398 spots. Now we have about 390, 388. With the new parking system, it's a problem. On September the 5th, I parked. I put my dollar in. When I came back at evening, I got this, which is supposed to be a warning that I did not put my dollar in the machine. The machine stated on it that we would get a receipt. I did not get one, neither was the man that was in front of me, and I waited until the man that was behind me, he did not get a receipt either. The Tuesday, the 6th of September, I came back to the clerk's office to verify if my information was in the system, which I had no doubt it was. It wasn't because I came in person. It took my dollar that morning, and I was so angry, I left this big notice taped to my windshield. The Wednesday morning, when I went, I put my dollar in, I put my license number in, C41, 67J. The gentleman that was there, that left the summons, the parking enforcement officer, I think his name was Casey, I'm not sure, the signature's not very clear. Anyhow, the machine said that I did not have an account. He said to me, instead of putting in C41, maybe you put in CJ. I said, well, you want to try, you try. He tried it twice, and it said that I did not have an account. I was fit to be tied. He says, well, what is your name? I says, you don't worry about my name. I went to the council about this yesterday. So he said, oh, you were the lady who parked down the corner? I said, yes, the one with the big notice on the windscreen, which obviously he saw. I tried the 4th time, and it took my dollar. As I said in the clerk's office, and I said to him, what happens if you get up at the wrong side of the bed in the morning, and you decide that you're going to come out here and give everybody a ticket, because this says, if I don't pay $1, I'll be charged $50. I said, if you wake up the wrong side of the bed, and you give 50 people a ticket, what recourse do we have to say that we put our dollar in? Since we do not have a permit to put on the windows, that machine should give us a receipt. And number 2, one machine for 388 people lining up one morning, it takes forever. It's slow, you're pressing, you're putting the number in, it has to check to see if you have an account. Then when you put, it says yes, you put your dollar in, then you have to press the green check mark again, and you have to wait for it to tell you transaction completed. It is too slow. And something has to be done. And I said to him, what happened if it's your word against mine and the other people that we didn't put $1 in there? And then on this it says we will be charged $50 to the commuters. We put a lot of money in there. Right now this went up. By the end of September, the beginning of August, just counting the 388 parking spots for people that would have paid the $28.75 that went from $25 to $28.75. $11,155. That's straight up money by the beginning of October, because this money has to be in by September so we can park. Well, I did a little more math, give and take a couple $100 or a couple of dollars. There are 365 days in a year. I took out the Saturdays and Sundays, 104 days. 261 days, there are roughly 4 Jewish holidays and 9 regular holidays. 248 days. The only time this car parking lot is not full is on a Jewish holiday, and not even then. If I go to work for 10 o'clock, I try to get there by 8:15. I can't even get a spot in the handicap spot. Sometimes if I do get one, it's pushing it, it's down in the corner by the fence. I calculated that at $1 a day for 248 days, we are making $96,244, plus that $11,155, $107,399. And we need to get that parking lot fixed. The walkway is disgusting. It needs widening. Every time it rains, everything washes down, and we could never get to the bus. We, the commuters, are paying this kind of money. We need to have some service. We need to get the walkway fixed and the machine.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Goldberg.
Is this still on? Sounds like it is. Josh Goldberg, Ward 4, Ellers Lane. I watched the last council meeting on YouTube and would be interested in some clarification on some non-specific subjects or non-specific comments. Councilman Rizzoli made a comment about police assassinations. If he could give us the names of a few of these cases, I'd be interested in looking these up and learning about them. Excuse me while I check my notes. Councilwoman Walker made a comment about Abbott districts getting more funds than we do, and that it's not fair in her mind. You know, disabled people get better parking spaces than I do. Maybe that's not fair, but I'm kind of grateful to not be in that position. It has been suggested that, well, I've heard about the defunding of this, or the defunding of the schools or the lowering of the state aid. What I haven't heard is the reason. What is the state's official given reason? I've heard it might be political. I heard, it was suggested it might be political. We're not getting a lot of friends in Trenton with Mr. Rizzoli being so antagonistic with our current governor. There was a suggestion of drafting a resolution together with Mr. Rizzoli. If we want to have a good relationship with the state, and I think we should, I don't see how those things are consistent. One more moment, please. Well, those are pretty much my points. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Phil McGovern.
Good evening, Philip McGovern, 201 Yorkshire Court in Society Hill. I want to read for you, the Department of Treasury, State of New Jersey, Unclaimed Property Administration website. It is common that in the normal course of business that individuals or businesses lose track of either checks that were issued to them or bank holdings. State unclaimed property laws define abandonment periods for these different types of property. Once property reaches the defined abandonment period with no activity, the holder of this property will turn the property over to the state. From the cashunclaimed.com website. New Jersey unclaimed property or money could be in the form of funds from a dormant, checking and savings accounts, uncashed money orders, cashier's checks, safe deposit box contents, unused gift certificates, unclaimed insurance funds, unclaimed security deposits, etc. In other words, if you haven't had activity in an account for a few years, then the money is turned over to the state. It's distressing when someone dies and the family doesn't know about a safe deposit box, a bank account. On August 24th, the Home News Tribune published 32 pages of Middlesex County residents that the state owed money to. There are hundreds of names of Old Bridge residents and businesses living and deceased. Bentley Avenue, Marced Drive, Perrine Road, Sonoma Court, let's see now, Everly Street. Every development, every apartment complex has names in here and streets in here. I urge the public, go to the state website, the Department of the Treasury Unclaimed Funds. You type, it'll bring you to a link, missingmoney.com. You type in a name and you'll see if the name is there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. McGovern.
Susan Bloomis.
This not working?
That works.
Yeah, it should be all right, Sue.
Okay. First, I was sad to hear about Mrs. Miller. I didn't know that she had passed away. And I know that when elected officials in this town pass away, we name things after them. And I think Mrs. Miller deserves to have the chair over there.
Absolutely.
Name on it.
Yep, she does.
But I'm serious. I think there should be a little plaque. I moved here in '81 and '83. I started coming to meetings, and Mrs. Miller already had her own chair.
Yeah.
So I think we should recognize Ann Miller. She was a plus to this township, and I'm sorry to hear that she has passed away. Can I ask a question about the consent agenda now?
You
No.
have to wait till I open it.
Okay.
It'll be coming right after this.
Okay, so at the last meeting, I walked from the parking lot to the council chambers on August 13th with Mrs. Sohor, my councilwoman. As we were walking and chatting, Mr. Rizzoli stormed up to us and started arguing with Mrs. Sohor. She tried to defend herself, and he called out, "F you, Mary."
Oh, that's not true. Stop it.
But he used the complete words.
Get out of here. I would never say that.
Excuse me, I have the floor, I think. I was surprised I had not seen Councilman Rizzoli act like that before. I've heard you have plans to run for mayor, Mr. Rizzoli. Well, no mayor of this town should be heard calling out to other council members, F you. So perhaps more residents should attend council meetings, or maybe just stand in the parking lot before deciding for whom to vote to govern this town. At least have some idea of the character of the candidates. And Mr. Murphy, when I last saw you at the OBMUA meeting, you told me that I better not bring your name up at any more council meetings, or I can watch and see what happens. So here in public, I'm asking you, what do you have in mind?
I never said that. You make up, you're a fountain of misinformation.
I have no relatives who work in this town. I don't work in this town or collect a pension from Old Bridge. I'm not an elected official and have no plans to ever run for office here. So I don't know anybody anything. And you can count on me to report any unacceptable behaviors that I witness, displayed by Old Bridge officials in any public forum I attend. People should be aware of the character of some of you characters, and I would be only too happy to be the reporter. So, Mr. Murphy, do not threaten me and do not deny that you did, because, much like you, my husband taped your comments. Like you say always, do you want to hear what I have to say? Well, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Stella?
Roseanne Andrews.
Good evening.
Roseanne Andrews, 7209.
You could sit if you like.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I hate microphones. Okay. Roseanne Andrews, 7209 Falston Circle. I'm here to just thank Mary Sohar and Dr. Anita Greenberg and Nicole Shapiro, I believe that's your name, You know, we've been waiting for a light on Route 9 and Spring Valley Road, and I called up Mary, who happened to be on vacation. She called up Anita Greenberg. Anita got in touch with Nicole. That afternoon, the entire Plaza Grande community got an update on where they are with regards to the light, and I just want to thank you so much because it was a big deal, because as you know, we are all senior citizens, and one day I'm going to come here and ask you to give everybody a driver's license over 70, because it's just really, but thank you so very much. I do appreciate it. And one other thing, I don't know if anyone can answer this. I know there has been a change with the parking. Is this, the handicap parking, do you still pay the $1, or is that no longer in effect?
Yes, you still pay the $1.
You still pay the $1. Okay, because they did away with the numbers on the parking spot, the parking spaces.
No, you still pay the $1.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else still?
Okay. Raymond Lopez?
All right, I'll try to make this quick. Hello, everybody. My name is Raymond Lopez. I live in a single-family house in Old Bridge, and I'm here because I'm trying to finish my basement to provide a safe and comfortable place for my kids. And going through the permit process, I was told that I need a variance because I violate the floor area ratio. So I feel like it's a burden on a homeowner to throw that kind of fee for something in the township code that's unclear and doesn't state that a basement that a finished or unfinished basement should be excluded from the floor area ratio. There's also other people in my area directly across the street from me that finished their basement without going through a variance. And the variance actually, when I added up all the fees, it cost about $1,600 plus the permit fees for a finished basement, which put me at $2,000. And I believe there's an amendment today that's going to be presented that will kind of address the definition in the township code and to kind of make it clear that people can finish their basement and it wouldn't be included in the floor area ratio. And I hope it gets approved because I feel it's a big burden on the homeowner for a single family unit to kind of go through this variance process. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
That's it.
Seeing no one else, then we will close the public portion. Next, we will go to council member comments.
Mr. Murphy?
I have two comments. The first woman was up speaking about the parking. I hope the administration plans on taking care of the problem she had. I have one other question. Did you say they raised the rate? Yes. To what?
It used to be $25, and now it's $28.75, plus $1 per day.
Okay. Mr. Amachu, shouldn't that come before the council? Any kind of rate increase on that?
I believe it did when we approved that. We still charge $25. It's the company that is charging processing fee for the online, convenience fee that is added to that, and the money goes to the company, and so that's what it makes it $28.75. The township ordinance is $25, and that's what we collect. But there's a convenient fee.
But how come the only thing in the ordinance is $1?
No, this is, what she's mentioning is the annual permit fee, not the daily fee.
I don't see that in here. Is it in the ordinances?
Yes, there's an ordinance for annual permit fees, yes.
Okay. And one other, I wasn't even going to bring this up, but I'm getting a little sick and tired of the politics. I mean, clearly Mrs. Blooming is political. I'm actually glad Ray Totten is sitting here because he was here when I made the comment. She said, "You laughed at me." I don't remember laughing, but when she came up, I kind of smiled and said, "Here we go again." And she said, "You laughed at me." I said, "Maybe I'll laugh at you again." And she said to me, "Is that a threat?" And I said, "You know what, yes." So yes, I did threaten to laugh at her, and that's all it was. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murphy. Anyone else on this side? Okay, Mr. Rizzoli.
One, to fabricate something like that and to come here and character assassinate me is disgraceful on your part. You have an agenda and it's political. You're a political operative. You take turns on every council person, every other meeting. You attend MUA meetings, you criticize them. Okay, I always treat you with respect. For you to come in here and to fabricate an entire story, you should be ashamed of yourself. Secondly, go on the police memorial website. You can get a list of all cops who've been killed in the line of duty, including assassinated. Where do I get that website? The police memorial website. It just says at the police memorial website, police memorial, National Police Memorial. And I think it's always on the news when cops get assassinated. Secondly, I'm very proud of the fact that I'm defending the Old Bridge community with that resolution. We lost $1.1 million in school funding. We're entitled to it. We're all taxpayers. We shouldn't be singled out in Middlesex County. I was elected to defend the residents of Old Bridge and our children, and that's what I did with the resolution. And I don't second guess my decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzoli. Anyone else on this side of the dais?
Madam Chairperson.
Okay, Mr. Murray. Either one.
I had the pleasure of attending a block party a couple of weeks ago out at the Redshaw Village community. And they had a lot of complaints. Evidently, they've been having some problems with line of sight pulling out of their development. And they seem to think that it's falling on deaf ears. So while I was there, I sent an email and requested that somebody come out and check with the line of sights. And Nicole responded that she had one of her people go out there and review that line of sight. Now, I don't know if they're the proper words, but the day I was out there, there was a sight problem. Today at 6 o'clock when I went out there was a sight problem. All right? I don't know what your guys are looking at, but I do know that when I pulled up to the stop sign pulling out of Redshaw Village and I looked north on Englishtown Road, there definitely is a line of sight problem. There's one big evergreen tree that blocks it that probably could be addressed. And there's also the telephone pole, and I don't expect the telephone pole to be replaced, but it definitely is in a real bad spot. And there was today, lo and behold, FedEx evidently is advertising for their seasonal help, and there was a big FedEx sign, boom, right next to the telephone pole. So if we can have PD go out and take care of that, maybe they can remove that, and that'll come out of there. But one of the things that I found out while I was investigating into this was that there was a developer's agreement for this development, and it has not been lived up to. All right, there should have been commercial buildings out there, several of them, 2 years ago, and they're not there. And it seemed that, reading the transcripts of the meetings, this town bent over backwards for this developer, for him to be able to put 22 homes in there. And in this developer's agreement, it was after the 5th or the 6th, you would do this, and after the 9th, you would do that. And before the 22nd home, before the certificate occupancies were issued, that these commercial development would be in place. So I'm going to ask the administration, what are our plans to enforce this builder's agreement so that we have the proper commercial ratables out there that we should have had 2 years ago?
We're going to look into that. I already have spoken to the engineering department. What will be our step, as well as the legal department, so we'll follow up on that.
Well, I wish you would, because, I mean, you did know about it 2 weeks ago. I thought you would have had an answer tonight, but evidently not. And, that is definitely something that, as we enter into these development agreements, these things should be being put somewhere that hey, when this milestone is hit, we should be looking for them. Woodhaven had, hey, before we give out 350 building permits, you know, we have to have this building. You know, when we get to the 600th unit, the traffic light had to be in place and stuff. These are things that we're not following up on, and it's not right. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berwin. Mr. Cahill, I believe was next, or?
Councilwoman Sohar, if Nicole has some.
No, Mrs. Shapiro, come forward, please.
I think there was a few questions on Red Shore Village, and I just want to clarify a couple of things. Mr. Merwin, yes, it is correct that somebody had gone out there and verified that there was a site distance issue. Actually, after you had brought it to our attention, we actually pulled out the site plans and saw that there was a 610-foot sort of site triangle that was supposed to be there. And you are correct, there is a commercial development that was supposed to front Red Shore Village. That was the second phase. Going back to the site triangle that's supposed to be out there, clearly if the commercial development was there the way it was proposed on the plans, there would be no site issue. I had called the property owner, who is no longer the developer who had built the residential buildings. It is somebody else. And I had told them that they have to go and clear that line of sight. Unfortunately, they also have to fill out a tree permit application. So that's why there's a bit of a lag in time, because they are going to remove that one tree, that one pine, when you're facing in the northbound direction to clear that site triangle. So we are working on it. You are correct. There is a developer's agreement. When I first started in Old Bridge, that project was in construction phase. There's a developer's agreement that says there was a phasing amendment to that application. The previous owner came in front of the zoning board at the time and said he has been a longtime resident of the Township of Old Bridge. He has owned property here for 40 years. He is never leaving. He basically said, this is the phasing that I need to get the funding from the bank to continue with the project. And it was during a very depressed economy, especially with housing, and that board did give him permission to go ahead. His amendment went something like this, and I know it because 2 years ago when I talked to him, it wasn't an easy conversation to have with him that my department missed it, but it was missed. He got his last CO without a commercial building on that property. The conversation went like this, or the amendment went like something like this: 6 houses, a footing for the commercial. 6 more houses, another building. 6 more houses, another building. Final CO. That never happened. What I did have is a conversation with the developer to say, you need to pave the road. There was final surface course that wasn't on that roadway. There was no striping on that roadway. There was no sidewalk for the kids to walk to the bus stop at the corner of 527 in Red Shore Village. He said, well, that's not my responsibility, that's the new property owner. In his developer's agreement, it says, I will never sell this property, and I'm paraphrasing. I said, you are in breach of the developer's agreement. We will go after you and the new property owner. And this is the discussion engineering had and will have with the new property owner. The new property owner had come in and talked about the trees. He's a bystander in the situation, and I have to take that at fact value because I have nothing else to go by. He's told me, and he has cleaned up the property since becoming owner of the property. He has come to my office to say, what do I have to do? Tell me what I have to do. Let me see the tree permit application. I will get down the tree immediately. His crews are going out this week to get that site triangle issue hammered out. That afternoon when he had met with me, he had met with a potential person that wants to buy the commercial property and build. He has to have somebody come and want to build the commercial development on County Route 527 in essentially a very residential neighborhood. It's hard to market. I'm giving him that ability to do that without coming down on him. So I asked council to give me that opportunity to work with this new developer who was blindsided by the fact that this development was a phased development and he was supposed to have these buildings up. Let me work with him to see what we can do about getting the ratables in town and doing it in a friendly manner, a friendly business-oriented manner. And that's the approach that, our administration, our mayor has always put forth to our engineering department. Let's try and be as business-friendly as possible, and that's what we're trying to do.
What do you think is fair? I mean, they're 2 years past. I find it hard to believe that a developer that develops commercial land got blindsided by a phasing thing. I mean, he did his due diligence, I'm sure, but
Councilman Murray,
agree
there are
with
things behind the scene that this new property owner had shown me that, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to any developer in this town. But from what I've seen, it leads me to believe
he was duped.
That maybe there was some duping going on.
But what do you think would be fair?
Let me see what the process brings us. I mean, certainly this township doesn't want to go to litigation. It only costs the township money. Let's see what this, new property owner is doing to see if they can bring, rateables to this town.
Okay.
Okay, I brought it up, I don't know, I think I brought it up to Mr. Machu first 2 weeks ago. That's a death looking to happen, or some kind of accident. It's really bad. I basically said, get the tree down next day. Forget the tree permit. I'm sure you can work around it. You're waiting. Are you waiting for an accident to happen? I don't want to see that. One tree is not going to kill. If somebody gets killed because of a tree or a couple trees is there, it wasn't worth the permit. There's no way we can bypass a permit, because I'll go cut the thing myself if I have to. That's what it's come down to. Why? How long you plan on getting the permit?
Councilman Murphy, I don't. The forester is the one that issues the permit.
Who is?
The forester, our conservation officer.
I'll call him tonight. Okay? It must be done. Look, this is my town. I live in this ward. You may have to drive out of your town through it sometime, so you should be a little concerned yourself. I think it's horrible we're waiting for somebody to cut a tree so there's not a death. I have a problem with that. I'm sorry.
Are you through with your comments, gentlemen? There were others that wanted to comment. I believe Mr. Cahill is next.
Yeah, just two quick things. I stopped by Old Bridge Day for a little while. I had a family commitment, but it was a really nice day. I want to give a shout out to Matt Mercurio and his team, the police, the specials that were there. I think it was very well run. From what I saw, again, I had to leave a little early for a family commitment, but beautiful day. Everybody I talked to was having a great time, and it was always, as always, a very nice day, so thank you for that. The other item is Mrs. Miller. Believe it or not, I had the same idea. Mrs. Blumig, I talked to the mayor when Mrs. Miller passed. It's weird her not sitting in that chair, and I said that to the mayor, and I said, we really need to recognize her some way and to put maybe like a plaque on the chair. So I would fully support that. I think it's a good idea. So
it's in the works, Councilman McKay.
Great. That'd be my recommendation. So
Okay.
that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mrs. Brown?
I wanted to address, is it Anuja, with the parking issue on Westminster? Yeah, that's in my ward, so I wanted to give this to you. I left my business cards at home. I'll leave this with Vivian.
Vivian.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Just email me just to follow up. I'll see what I can do. I'll work together with the mayor and Hamachu, and we'll see how we can rectify the situation for you, okay? All right, other comment? Yes. The other comment I had was regarding our lovely council here. I am enjoying my time being a councilwoman. I'm not quitting, don't get scared. But I actually wanted to just make a statement. I was speaking with a councilwoman in another area, and she highly recommended a retreat for council people that maybe we can do. I know that sounds very fluffy, but I would like us to be able to work together better. So amongst one of my suggestions, which would be for us to actually speak to the mayor or Hamachu or the engineer before we get here at night so we can save some time maybe during the meetings. I would also recommend that. I actually hear that it works to kind of get people together who are in conflict, and they actually do one of these retreats for elected officials in particular. So we could look into it. I have a little bit of information I can provide afterward. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mrs.
We could
Brown.
use the hatchet throwing venue if you want, so.
The hatchet, that's it, right. Okay, anyone on this side of the dais?
Madam President, before, I'm sorry, I just, Mr. Merwin, just to your point on Redshaw, you brought up the developers agreement. That's, the good thing is the fact that we have a developers agreement, and while there was the monitoring that may have been missed, we don't lose our right to enforce the terms of the developers agreement. That's why even with the new owner, they would have taken an assignment, so any successor and interest of the property, it'll apply to them as well. So that's why, you know, before I got here, there were many applications where there were no developers agreements. And I remember having this conversation with Nicole and with Pinder, indicating that, you know, a town this size, we have to emphasize the fact that we need developers agreements. And the reason is because it's a contract. And there's certain things in our land use law where you can try to enforce, like resolution compliance, and you end up going through municipal court. But if you have a contract, you have an agreement, then you have the ability to sue on that, and your remedies and your damages are greater. So that's what the fact is, that is there. We continue to have that ability. So that's why developers, one of the reasons developers agreement is so significant.
Thank you. Thank you. On the side, Mr. Biscotti.
Yeah, I just want to come to the defense of our engineer. I've seen her in action, and she is really a plus for our town. She does a great job. So when she says she's going to work with the developer to make something happen, I trust that she's going to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Greenberg.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to say how wonderful it is always to see the Special Olympics here. It is amazing how active those individuals are. And they're only that can have all these programs because of the volunteers that give so much of their time and energy to them. But to see the Special Olympics for swimming, for track, for hockey, for, you know, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you saw how excited and happy they were. And so, leaving that, I do have to talk about something personal. I want to share something with the public. I was elected by the residents to represent you, and I take that position very seriously. But I do need you to know something personally that is happening to me. It has come to my attention that Councilman Merwin is targeting me. Councilman Merwin has made requests through OPRA, which is the Open Public Records Act, to seek personal information about me. It's very concerning. I want to share with the public some information and history. I have lived in Old Bridge since 1994. I have a small 8-acre farm, and I'm a veterinarian. Years back, my in-laws were coming to move in with us when they were older and became ill. They were coming from Pennsylvania. Therefore, my husband and I decided to expand our house to accommodate this transition. Initially, we were going to build a second floor on our ranch house. After realizing the difficulty involved with this, we decided to build a new structure on our farm. Once the construction was complete, we moved into the new structure, and the old structure became an accessory building. It became a storage facility and also a pool cabana. I want everyone to know, I pay over $26,000 taxes in Old Bridge. I do not understand what Mr. Merwin is trying to do and why he seeks my personal information. All permits were paid for, and in fact, I had to pay over another $10,000 to pay into COA, which is the Coalition of Affordable Housing. It was a fee that I had to pay, but I am not a developer, and I live in the house that I built. Mr. Merwin has requested a map of my property. This is very unnerving to me because I've been told before, although this is hearsay, that he is coming after me, Mrs. Sohar, and Mrs. Walker, and we shall lock our doors. That is hearsay. I did not hear from Mr. Merwin. I am concerned that this is retaliation for me, as I was a witness in a case in which I witnessed Mr. Merwin strangle someone. The outrageous activity of targeting me has to stop. I have contacted an attorney, and I am actually acknowledging this public because I want everyone to know. I am very, very concerned when someone does that. There is no reason for it. Why would he request documents pertaining to my house and my property? What does he want to do with it? What is his intent? Has he done that to anyone else in the public? Has he done that to any other council member here? Has he done it to Mr. Murphy? Has he done it to Mr. Rizzoli? Has he done it to Miss Brown? Has he done it to Miss Walker? Has he done it to Mr. Paschetti? Has he done it to Miss Sohar? No, not that I'm aware of, but he has done it to me. I am putting on record, therefore, if anything comes out of this, I want to state my position clearly and for you to know my side of the story. What is he planning to do with this information? There is something seriously wrong with this. And what is the interest with my private life? I feel that I'm being stalked. I've met all of my obligations. The file is closed. What is the intent for Mr. Warren using this information? Is this a fishing expedition or a hunting expedition? What is this about? What is the purpose of this, I ask you all, and how would you all feel if this was happening to you? I ask the public, really, is this a necessary thing for one council member to do to another or for one person to do to another? I feel very, very, very uneasy and threatened, and I am concerned and fear for my family. And that is why I came forward with this, and in public and on record. In closing, I also need to say, shockingly, past Councilman Richard Green, a friend of Mr. Warren, has also requested personal information about me. Mr. Green sits on the Middlesex County Tax Board, and I ask the same questions. Why is he targeting me? Why is he asking for my personal information? I feel that's abuse of power and abuse of his position. Has he done this to anyone else? I don't know. I cannot answer that, but I know it has been done to me, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable because I don't know what they want to do with that information, and I don't know what it was so important for them to know it about. But if you have any questions that you need me to answer, I'm here and I am available, and I will answer those questions for you, and I will answer them truthfully and not being malicious. And so I think the retreat, Ms. Brown, although it sounds like a good idea, I don't see it happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Walker, do you have any comments?
Debbie, are you still there?
Yes, I don't have this, no.
No? Okay. All right. So I will now close the case.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
I must respond to that allegation. All right? I have not requested a map of Ms. Greenberg's home. I requested the building permits for her second residence on the property. Now, the reason I'm requesting that is because there's 33 other homes in the township that have a secondary residence on the property, and those folks are paying their full assessed taxes. They took Mrs. Greenberg's house that she formerly lived in, her ranch that she wants to call it. Now she wants to call it a cabana. Is that the same cabana that Mary was living in between her homes?
Nope.
Huh?
Nope.
Is that the cabana that your daughter lives in when she comes home from school? Is that the $5,000 tax deduction you got on the on it? I have put in for those public records that the township attorney and the clerk continue to cover up. All right? I believe there was.
Excuse me?
I
Excuse
believe
me?
there was. I
Excuse
believe-
me, Mr. Merwin?
Wait, Mr.
Sorry,
Merwin.
Mr. Merwin.
Wait, Mr. Merwin.
You're making an
This is
Wait.
my spot.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, sir, this is
No.
my
Oh,
time.
sorry,
Yes,
it's
no,
not
no,
yours.
no.
You're making an accusation.
You're right, and you're right, I am making an accusation.
Now, first of all, that is stated in public.
Yep.
I'm an
That's not
attorney.
baiting the public.
Yes.
That is a fact.
That's a fact.
All right? That's a fact that I have been getting jerked around trying to get this public
Well, Mr.
information.
Merwin, let's shut down the meeting, because
Yeah,
at this
I mean,
point,
this is
have it on the
crazy.
record.
No, you're not in charge of this
You can
meeting.
expect-
This is our meeting.
You can expect.
She said
you
it,
can
I'm
expect-
responding.
Merwin,
Mr.
I'm in
Merwin,
charge of
so
the
wait,
meeting.
Mr.
This
Merwin,
is crazy.
That statement that you made, that's on your own, right? You're not speaking on behalf of
This
the
is
township,
crazy.
right?
And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to apologize.
You are
All right,
wrong.
but no, I'm
you're
not
way
going
over-
to
that's
apologize.
right, you're over the
because
line.
I can,
Wait,
I
you're
can
over
show
the
you the
line.
litany of emails back and forth.
You are over the line.
No,
Merwin, you're out of line.
I'm not
You
out of
accused-
line. You're out of
You
line.
clerk,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm not out of line.
Ken. All
You
right.
accused the
No,
municipal
not
clerk
me.
and myself of a cover-up. The
Listen.
law has been followed, and that is exactly what happened.
That's your turn. We'll see a little bit later
No,
on.
that was your turn.
I see we have a settlement of one of the other ones where you refused to give the information.
I think we have to stop this meeting.
Yeah?
I think we have to stop, but we can't go on like this.
What do you mean we can't go on like this? Wait a minute, she made the accusation.
Mr. Merwin, she
tried to
didn't
tell
make
the public, she tried to tell the public that she feels threatened and everything else.
Right.
I gave you a perfectly good reason why.
What did I say?
I think
What
there
did-
was improprieties from township employees
That's
being
ridiculous.
unduly influenced by elected officials.
Now, that is
All
a
right, and I
serious,
asked for
very
this
serious
information.
accusation. We
Well,
have
you're
to
right,
stop.
that's an accusation. You're right. All right, and it's all backed up. So, she wanted to bring it up. I was content going through the Oprah request. All right? She wanted to bring it up. She made it public. I didn't.
Yeah, she did.
That's right, exactly. So the public should know that that is the reason that I put it in. I think there was some improprieties. There was going back and forth. Originally, the house was to be destroyed or knocked down.
Oh, my God.
You know, and then it was supposed to have a canopy built from
Okay,
one to the other.
let's just stop now. I think
Right,
we're
okay.
we're
Yes,
done.
let's stop right now. Yes, yes, let's stop right now.
What is his business anyway?
I have no idea. So, are we through now with council member comments? Okay, we will close the council member comments. Hallelujah. Okay, report of the township clerk.
Sure. Okay, most of the residents have received little blue card for a reminder for our rabies clinic on Saturday, October 13th. It's a free clinic open to all.
We need it.
Dogs will be vaccinated from 9 to 11. Cats will be vaccinated from 11 to 12 noon. All animals we ask, must be leashed and contained in a carrier in order to be vaccinated. The vet requests this. There are no exceptions on that rule. The clinic is open to all, not only Old Bridge residents. We try to open it to others if they need a free vaccine. The only thing you need is to bring in your vet and a carrier or a leash, no other requirements. Okay? And that's it. Again, it's October 13th. It's on a Saturday, 9 to 11 for dogs and 11 to 12 at noon. We hope to see you then.
Okay, thank you. A report of the township attorney.
Probably don't want to hear it. I just want to bring the attention of the council. There's an action item, which is A1 on the agenda. If you recall, that was ordinance number 2018-16.
Yes.
Which the mayor vetoed. That's a resolution. If the member last meeting, you have to do it by resolution. When you come to that item, that requires 6 votes. 6 votes in the affirmative in order to pass. So a majority, 5-vote majority is not sufficient, requires 6 votes.
Thank you very much. Anything else from the attorney? No? You done? Okay, thank you. Administrative report, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Council Presidents. Administrative report for September 24th. Item number 1, New Jersey Natural Gas Renewal Project in Clifford Beach. New Jersey Natural Gas contractors J.F. Kiley Construction will be renewing gas mains and services on Pacific Boulevard, Ocean Boulevard, Middlesex Avenue, Pomona Boulevard, Hilltop Boulevard, Outlook Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, and Raritan Boulevard started on about Wednesday, September 12, 2018, and continuing for the next several months. Construction will begin on Ocean Boulevard at Middlesex Avenue, working towards Raritan Boulevard. A representative from J.F. Kiley on New Jersey Natural Gas will contact residents in advance of your service being interrupted and turned back on. The roadway within the work zone will be temporarily restricted, except for the local residents, buses, and emergency vehicles during construction activity. For more information, please contact Mike Fry, J.F. Kiley Construction Company at 732-984-1793. Item number 2, 2018 Annual Drainage Improvement Program. Bids were received and opened in public on Thursday, September 13, 2018. 8 contractors submitted bids that range from $413,275.75 to $817,838. The engineering estimate was $411,092.25 for reconstruction of curbing on Biondi Avenue, Farrington Road, Mercury Circle, Nathan Drive, Athens Road, Albert Drive, Bruce Streets, Avon Court, Bertrand Streets, Craigton Circle, Island Drive, Ledge Terrace, William Streets, Bentley Avenue, and Texas Road. Award of this contract is included on consent agenda for approval by council. Construction will begin in late fall. Item number 3, NJDOT 2019 Municipal Aid Grant Application for Morganville Road. The engineering office has prepared an application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for their 2019 local aid program to fund the resurfacing of Morganville Road from Old Bridge to Matawan Road, Old Bridge Matawan Road, County Route 16 to our municipal border within Aberdeen Township, approximately 0.87 miles in the amount of $341,510. On tonight's consent agenda for council approval is a resolution approving the filing of the application, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to submit an electronic application, and accepting of any funds received by NJDOT. Item number 4, Coastal Cleanup Day. Saturday, September 29, 2018 is International Coastal Cleanup Day. Mayor Henry's clean team will clean Pirate Cove and Lawrence Harbor beachfront from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Volunteers will be able to earn community service hours. Please email the recycling coordinator if interested at recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 5, Annual Flu Shot Clinics. On Thursday, October 4, 2018, the Middlesex County Office of Health Services will be holding seasonal flu vaccine clinic between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. at a Silver Lining at Old Bridge. Flu vaccines will be available for $15 cash only or a valid Medicare card. For more information about the clinic, residents should call 732-721-5600 extension 6615 or the Middlesex County Office of Health Services at 732-745-3100. Item number 6, Mayor Henry's Clean Team. On Saturday, October 6, 2018, Mayor Henry and volunteer from Club Scout Pack number 3129, South Old Bridge Fire Department, Ladies Auxiliary, Old Bridge Lightning, 11U, and Middlesex County Fire Police Association will be cleaning various roadways throughout the township. For additional information, residents should contact the recycling coordinator at extension 6107 or email recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 7, paper shred event. On Friday, October 12, 2018, the township will host a special paper shredding event at 3 various locations. Residents can bring their confidential document to Cheesequick Village from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. the Public Works Yard from 12 noon to 2 p.m. and Plaza Grande from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. For more information, contact the recycling coordinator at extension 6107 or email recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 8, National Breast Care Awareness Month. October is a National Breast Care Awareness Month. A breast cancer awareness tea party with a representative from Hackensack Meridian is scheduled for October 18, 2018 at 12:45 p.m. at Silver Lining at Old Bridge for registered members of the center. Advance sign-up is required. For more information about the event, residents should call 732-721-5600 extension 6615. For additional information on National Breast Care Awareness Month, residents can visit nationalbreastcancer.org. Item number 9, Household Hazardous Waste Day. On Sunday, October 21st, 2018, Old Bridge will host Household Hazardous Waste Day from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Public Works Yard. For additional information, residents should email recycling@oldbridge.com or call extension 6107. Item number 10, 2017 Property Tax Reimbursement Program. The filing deadline for 2017 Property Tax Reimbursement Program, also known as the Senior Freeze, is October 31st, 2018. For first-time applicants, the application is available in the tax collection office on the first floor of Administration Building. For additional information regarding the Property Tax Reimbursement Program, residents should contact New Jersey Division of Taxation at 800-882-6597 or the Office of Tax Collector at extension 2999. Item number 11, Homestead Rebate Program. With the adoption of State of New Jersey's fiscal year 2019 budget, eligible homeowners who received a homestead benefit credit on their May 2018 tax payment will receive an additional benefit on their November tax payment. The additional 2015 homestead rebate will be applied to the fourth quarter tax payment due in November of 2018. Revised tax bills for qualified homeowners were mailed out the week of September 17, 2018. For additional information, residents should contact the New Jersey Division of Taxation at 888-238-1233 or the Office of Tax Collector at extension 2999. Item number 12, Fall Recreation Program. The Parks and Recreation Fall Brochure is now online and registration is open. There is some availability in the following programs: Brixology, Little Gourmet Chefs, Candy Creation, Tumbling Kids, Crafts, Paint Night, Math Science, Select Dance Classes, and Ice Skating Lessons. For more information, contact the Parks and Recreation Office at extension 4110 or our website www.oldbridge.com/recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. Does anyone have any comments or questions from council? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Peschitti.
Yes. Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? No. Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
Okay, now we'll go to the consent agenda. I will ask for a motion to bring it forward, and then we'll bring it out to the public, and then ask for separations.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Peschitti, second by Mr. Merwin. I'll now open it up to the public. Anyone, any questions on consent agenda, come forward.
I see on here C23 that Morganville Road is going to be paved, and it says to the municipal border. Where exactly is the municipal border? Because I'm under the impression it's the edge of my yard. I'm 234 Morganville Road, and I'm right on the end of the, if you're coming from 516, I'm before the MUA pumping station.
Right across from
On the
Cedar
opposite
Ridge,
side of
right?
the street. And just a little bit further than the pumping station, the road is in such disrepair, is why I'm asking where the line ends.
I don't know where your property is in relation to the line, but I could tell you this much. Where our border line is, just over the border south of our line, it is extremely bad. It will not cover that portion. We are only permitted to do what's in our municipality. This is for an application, so it's the consent for the mayor and the clerk to sign the application. Doesn't mean we have the funding yet. Okay.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public? Please come forward.
Jim Morrison.
Good evening.
45 Old Mill Road. I wanted to bring up C31. My understanding of the shelter, the way it exists now, is we have a full shelter, and anyone calls, they're turned down. The only way we can take in new animals, and I'm speaking specifically on cats, is if we put down an existing cat that's in the shelter. I'm sorry. So when I look at this proposal to merge with Monroe or accept their animals, and not dogs, because we do have room in the kennels, but for cats, we're often full. And I know we used to average about 100 cats a year we put down. I believe the number's much less now. The people in the shelter seem really devoted to keeping everything run smoothly. My concern is that we're saying in this proposal that they would call us on Monday to Friday if they were bringing in cats. But most of these animals, I'm assuming they call during business hours, most of these animals are trapped in the evening when no one's there. So they would bring the cats in, put them in crates, I understand. Then the next morning, we would take their cats, put them in our crates if we had room. If not, what would we do with them? We have to hold them 7 days before we euthanize them. I'm assuming that Monroe will euthanize all the cats they bring in. My other question is, who euthanizes them? Our people or their animal control? It doesn't seem fair for our people to have that on them to kill another animal when it breaks their heart now to have to do it. Also, they were using Blooming, who's now closed. Does anyone know how many animals were brought or cats were brought to Blooming? And what was the kill ratio of those cats? Will they pay the boarding fee after 7 days? I don't think so. They have to keep the cats 7 days. Do the people of Monroe even know about our shelter? Can they promote our shelter? Will they have people come here to adopt our animals? It sounds really like doing this is just a Band-Aid and not a solution to the real problem. We need more shelters in the county. We have 25 municipalities, and to my knowledge, only 4 shelters. So I really empathize with Monroe. I'd like to see their cats saved also, but not at the expense of our cats. We work hard. I'm part of the TNR group in this town. We work hard to save cats. We're not trying to lose them. We will get $1,000 a month. Is that money earmarked for anything specifically? Perhaps it could be used to help TNR. Perhaps it could be used to reopen Helmetta maybe the 25 municipalities could get together and try to rebuild Helmetta so we have a county shelter, so we can stop this craziness of killing cats. Most people in this town think the shelter just takes in any cat and somehow magically they find a home for them. That isn't what happens. What happens is the shelter has to put someone down to bring in a new cat, and that's heartbreaking. I hope we can reconsider some of this. I would like to help Monroe, but I don't want to do it at the cost of Old Bridge cats. Maybe we could take that money and do something to rebuild the shelter or co-join others and reopen Helmetta. Thank you.
Council President, Captain Grumpert will answer some of the questions. I think operational-wise, he's in charge of that. On a financial end, any income received under the state statute, the Animal Control Fund, we have a separate trust fund. Any income received, including our own income when we issue permits or fines or when somebody adoption fees, they all are accounted in a separate trust fund and maintained. And so the funds are available for the purpose of, animal shelter related activity or other activity. Now, in addition to that, Township annually puts large amount in its budget for the operation of the shelter. So we contribute that. And we have carefully drafted, based on the recommendation of Chief of Police, who had initial conversation with Monroe Chief of Police, we made sure that we have a full coverage. They pay for all the costs associated with the animal received from Monroe, and that it's not going to be at the expense of any Old Bridge animal. If we don't have a room, we will not be able to accept their animals either. It will not be saying, hey, we don't have a room, we're going to make a room. No, there is no, that's not the plan. Old Bridge is a priority. An Old Bridge shelter is dedicated for Old Bridge animal. Okay, but I'll let Scott give you some other operational information.
Hi, Mr. Morrison. As you know, we've worked together with the TNR committee. When the chief tasked me with looking into this proposal, I put Old Bridge first. And the question you had there about the cats, they come in after hours, we can't accept them. Every morning, Monday through Friday, the ACOs from our place are supposed to coordinate with the ACOs from Monroe. And one of the topics that came up was cats. They don't have a TNR program in Monroe. It doesn't appear they're going to have one anytime soon. They are going to do some trapping, but they're only going to do that when they know we have space for them available. So even if they trap a cat, bring it in the evening, we're still going to have space for them. We're not going to be looking to put any of our animals down that are adoptable. That's been our philosophy since I've taken over the animal shelter. We do not put down animals that are adoptable. As far as making room, I have our coordinator down there. We're resorting out the arrangements in the layouts of the rooms to make it feasible. You're correct. At some point, we were keeping 100 cats in the shelter. We're nowhere near that number anymore. One of my priorities was we're going to start eliminating these cats that have been in our shelter for years. And by eliminating, I don't mean put down. I mean try to find them homes. I never heard of a term called a barn cat until I became in charge of this. So we try to find homes for these animals. But there are cats out there that are feral, and unfortunately, at some point, we may have to put these feral cats down. We, the Old Bridge Animal Shelter, are not going to put down any Monroe animal. As the BA said, we are not going to incur any costs. If they decide they're going to have a dog or a cat stay with us, they're going to pay the $10 boarding fee a day until they decide either we're going to help you find it a home through a shelter, or they're going to make that decision to euthanize. That's their call. All we're doing is providing a facility for them, but they don't take priority. Old Bridge takes priority in our shelter. So, I mean, I know you'd asked a bunch of different questions. The question about Blooming and as far as what her kill ratio was, I don't have an answer for you that. I could tell you Monroe's reclaim rate for their dogs is in the 90s. They basically work on Monday through Friday, 7 to 11, and they hang on to their dogs and their cats as long as they possibly can before they would have to take it either to Blooming or to us. So they do a good job over there as far as reclaiming their animals. As far as advertising, my counterpart over there, Lieutenant Robinson, we had discussed their advertising, and we have mechanisms in place that they know about this. So I think I answered all your questions, hopefully. If not...
So if a cat has to be put down, they will come over and do it?
That is correct. We're not putting down their animals.
If I may, I hope I can get this. It's not,
Sit down. Yeah, it's easier to sit now.
thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, Madeline Passione, 35 Emerald Lane. Yes, Lieutenant, we're working with you on the TNR committee. Now, my concern is that when we trap animals that people leave behind when they move, or tenants just move, and homeowners, whatever, we have to TNR these cats. When we get them in these traps, some of these cats are very friendly. We have to alter them and turn them out in the street, because the times I have called the shelter, they never have room for cats or kittens. Now all of a sudden we have space.
Again, each one of those, Madeline, you know, when they come up, like you said, you have my contact information. You should be reaching out to me, too. I know Karen does a good job down there. She's always trying to be helpful. As you know, she's also on our committee.
Would it be possible for the committee, the TNR committee, to call the shelter when we do have a friendly animal that could be put up for adoption?
Absolutely. I thought we were already doing that, you know?
No, I hadn't. Well, unfortunately, I've had the problem that every time I call, whether it's kittens or just adult cats, there's never any room. So I'm glad that we were able to clarify that.
Yeah, you have my contact, Madeline. Please call me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else out there who has questions about the consent agenda? And seeing no hands, I will close it to the public. I will now ask for separations from council.
Point of order.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that now, but I am. Okay. As you know, most of you know I don't like to be picky. But when I brought up my ordinance last time, I was talking about the mayor being able to put something on a consent agenda, and I spoke to the attorney, and he said he can do it through the council. Now, tonight, I see quite a few items brought up by the engineer. I'm a councilman. This is our consent agenda. Why is anybody other than us bringing up something on the agenda?
Okay. Oh, thank you, Mr. Murphy. You'll get an answer.
Well, when you look at what the items are, I don't know if you're talking on the consent agenda.
Yes, on the consent agenda.
Those are just, it references the genesis of where the information came from. So that obviously the zoning board, the first item with respect to Mr. Sachs, since that's a zoning matter, it emanated from community development.
I understand that. Who put them on?
But ultimately, the request, when you have your council, your meetings, these items are brought forward with the council president to indicate these are the items that the administration would like to be included for the next meeting.
No. I don't accept that. Listen, I'm voting no on everything listed as engineer, and I recommend everybody else do it too. They're taking all the power away from the council. Mary could have recommended to put them on, which she has done at other times. Why didn't she hear? I'm going to go that she didn't accept them. And this is why I'm going to be, after today, I'm going to be going to every staff meeting. I want to see what's going on. And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Great. So are you finished, Mr. Murphy? Are you finished?
Finished with
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right. So now we'll open it up, the consent agenda for separations. Mr. Murphy.
God bless.
6, 7, 25, 9, 26.
Wait.
That's it.
Okay, so let me just make sure I have it right. You have 25 and 26, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you have 6, 7, and 9, right?
Right.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, 32 I took off. Okay.
Okay, anyone else on this side of the dais? Mr. Merwin?
3, 5, 11, 12, 22.
Okay, 1 second. Okay,
You up to 22?
yes.
Okay, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, it's still on.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next. Yes, he said 27, he did. Okay, Mr. Cahill, do you have any?
No, I said, why don't we just separate them all?
We could do that. How about Mrs. Brown? Okay, Mr. Rizzoli? No? Okay, on this side, Mr. Pescitti? No. Mrs.?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
No, no separation.
Okay, and I don't have any either. So we will now ask for a motion for C1.
Can we just
Why don't we just move all the
Yeah. For the balance, right. So do you want me to list them since it's so crazy?
Just identify the ones.
Right. That they're being removed.
That are being moved.
Right, C1, C2, C4, C8, C10, C13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 29, and that's it.
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Pescetti, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Council President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes on the balance.
Okay, next will be C3, and that's Mr. Merwin.
We just went through a whole police radio and radio room redo, didn't we?
We had a police radio room upgrade several years back. It's been a while. I don't know when exactly.
It's a grant.
Sergeant Doctor will respond.
The radios were done over the past few years, but the dispatch room, this is for the furniture and the dispatch consoles that are over 10 years old. 2 of them broke down. Each leg is $10,000 to fix. So there's at least 2 legs that are broken and no guarantee that the other ones aren't going to fail soon. So we used the grant money that we had left over, and we're going to purchase the 2 consoles.
Very good.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Anybody else?
No. Yeah, no.
Second.
Okay, so motion by
Murphy.
Murphy and second by Mr. Merwin.
Right.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next is C5, Mr. Merwin.
Yes, this is a much-needed relief out there, though it may slow traffic down a little bit on Texas Road. Just wondering if the engineer, tonight, while I was going there around 6 o'clock, and I was coming from Route 9, so I was going west, I guess, on Texas Road. As I come through the traffic light at Marlboro Road, and the first traffic light that's not in effect yet, from that light to Marlboro Road, there was a long line of cars that hadn't been interfered yet by the new traffic light. And I'm thinking if the traffic light goes through a full signal, it's going to create some traffic jams back maybe if if there's nobody coming out of the side street, it just stops the eastbound traffic on Texas Road and allows the cars to make their turn and go straight. It may alleviate some problems out there. If you can take that into consideration. But other than that, this is much needed, and adding those streets to the developer agreement is great.
Are you through?
Anybody
You
else?
good? Anyone else have any comments?
Move it.
All right. Second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Cahill, second.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
Okay. C6, Mr. Murphy.
I'm going to talk about 6, 7, and 25. They're all basically the same thing. I hate to keep bringing this up, but this has to do with my ordinance again. We're a new council. The majority of the council are brand new. This is the first developer agreement we have ever seen. By ordinance, we are supposed to have the agenda by Thursday. I checked last Friday, at Friday night, we still hadn't had it. I checked on Saturday, and it was on there. It's almost 300 pages. My computer, the one they give me, I'm still having a problem with it, wasn't working, so I couldn't even look at all the backup. I got it to the library, and I got some of it. But I feel that being a new developer's agreement, we should have at least a chance to read it. 300 pages is a lot to go through. I don't know what the rest of the council has done, but I don't believe that they all read 300 pages, and maybe they don't have to because they've done it before. But this is the first time for the new members, and I feel I'm going to have to vote. I'd like to table it.
Mr. Murphy, if I may, the agenda was up and running and out to the council and to the public Friday afternoon.
It wasn't there Friday at 5 o'clock, but it should have been there on Thursday. I'm not going to argue with it. I don't care who the problem was. My computer wasn't working anyway.
4:17 p.m. because Novus was helping me with it. We had a problem.
I understand that, but my concern is we have never dealt with a developer's agreement. Once again, it's like we don't know what's going on. I don't know who read it, but I'm making a motion that we table it till next meeting.
Okay, so they have to be done individually, no, Mr.?
Well, I don't know what the motion is.
Okay, what is your motion, Mr. Murphy?
I'd like to table consent C6, C7, and C25 till the next meeting, so we can read it.
I mean, this is the developers agreement's the benefit for the
Right.
residents.
So to Mr. Murphy's point, I can't recall if we've had developers agreement before or not for the beginning of the year. But I think one of the developers agreement happened to be long because there were a lot of exhibits. But basically, these developers agreements, some of them are time sensitive. Certainly the one with the Oaks, and the one with, I guess, Avalon and Foxborough, because they all involve litigation matters that have been resolved, and so the other thing is that these developers agreements are drafted by the township's professionals to benefit the township, because what they do is they incorporate items that are in the approvals that the reviewing board, whether it be the planning board or zoning board, set down as a condition of approval, and then it's memorialized in the developer's agreement. And why that becomes significant, as we heard from Redshaw, is that now we have an agreement that the parties have to comply with. And to the extent that a developer doesn't comply with those provisions, we then have the ability to go beyond just enforcement through municipal court, but a breach of agreement claim. So most of the information, actually the agreements themselves are pretty much a template that we've used time and time again. But the significant part is that they've been prepared and reviewed by your township professionals, including the board attorneys, the engineering department, and in some instances, a consulting engineer, and myself. Those have been vetted. While you may have questions, I'm not sure, at the end of the day, the agreements themselves, it's consent. They're provided to allow you to provide consent to the mayor because the administration is one who's responsible for doing the negotiations and vetting the agreements themselves. So that responsibility does fall on the administration and the professionals. I think to the extent that there's general questions, there's not, you can bring those up, but typically it's not within the purview of the council to make modifications or changes to those agreements, because it's the mayor who's responsible for the negotiation of the agreements.
Well, then why do we even put them on a consent agenda? Just let them do it and be done with it. Why bother wasting our time?
I'm sorry?
Well, I don't know, we're wasting our time if the mayor can do it himself anyway.
Well, it's only because the Faulkner Act requires that agreements.
Okay, let me amend it. I'm going to amend it. I don't have a problem with 7. It was only 38 pages. I'm going to amend to table 6 and 25. Do I have a second?
25. 6 and 25, table, not 7.
Madam President,
Yes.
can I speak?
Well, we had a motion to table. I don't have a second, so you can speak.
Okay, well, I had an issue with these, so I felt I had to read them. And a lot of what they are is what was approved at the planning board. So, you know, I was very familiar with a lot of the language that was in there. These are concessions from the builder, what they would do for certain, you know, for certain, yeah, there were conditions. And, you know, I was up late. I read a lot, and they seemed to be okay. You know, yeah, I don't think we've ever seen, I don't remember seeing a developer's agreement on the consent. But it would be better if we had more time to read this stuff.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to cut you off. The unusual part, obviously, there has been a gap between meetings. So that's the reason why we ended up with 3. And we had been negotiating each of these during those interim periods. But I think this is also significant that you had indicated, Ms. Biscotti, is that, right, the conditions are memorialized in the agreement, so you have already had the benefit of a board who have vetted those conditions as well. And again, like I said, the goal of the developer's agreement is to take those conditions, put it in an agreement, so that if some developer decides I'm not going to comply with them, now we have the ability to sue them in court for that. And the only thing that, you know, is set forth, if there's additional fees and costs that they have to pay, those are included. If there's additional monies that are above and beyond what, let's say, a statute or the MLUL would require them to do, those items are set forth in the agreements as well, because now it gives us the ability to enforce the contract. But I don't want to cut you off, but I think it's sort of a perfect storm in this instance. Typically, you wouldn't see 3, and I know the Oaks, that goes back to 2005. So you know, there's a long history there. Typically, you know, you'll get 1, maybe 2, but not usually because of the timing of these applications. It just all came together.
Okay. Anyone else have comments? Dr. Greenberg?
Just to reiterate, these are development agreements that have been vetted, and we're just approving it, and it really protects the residents. We've seen it time and time again, especially, I know you have President Sohar in your area. Without a developer's agreement, it's very hard on the residents when certain things don't get done. So I think this is a good thing, and I'll be supporting it.
Anyone else on this side? No? I'll close the comments by agreeing with Dr. Greenberg. Prior to this administration, we did not have developer agreements, and anyone who lives in the woods or lives in Tyler Estates will definitely let you know how important these are. They went for years without roads and a lot of the amenities. So these are very positive, and I think the responsibility is upon the professionals rather than the council members. We have to, as she said, Faulkner, we have to approve it, but I think that they're done very well, and I'm going to support it as well.
Council President, if I may just interfere, but at this point, these developers' agreements are, I would consider them for information now to the council. We've done all the negotiating, we've done it, now we're putting in contract for the council, and I do recommend you read the 300 pages so that you are aware of what's going on with these developments. Not that, as Mr. Roselli said, we're not going to renegotiate. If you don't like something in this developer's agreement, well, it's, tough. But you should educate yourself with these developers' agreements. And at this point, as I said, they're just informational. And that's what we're putting before the council. So now you have the information, what took place during the negotiations, what took place at the planning board meetings, the zoning board meetings, that maybe you didn't have the time to attend. Now you see the results of what happened to a process or a plan that has gone over the years. So this is all in a nutshell of what you're giving.
Right, and if the residents have questions.
Now you have something that you can go to your constituents and say,
right,
this is what's going to happen, this is when it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's
and you'll
informational only.
Yep, and you can give them an outline of what time and how this is going to, unfold, because they're the ones that are waiting for the different things to be completed.
Madam Chairperson.
Yes.
Just to correct the record, they did have developer agreements in the prior administration.
I don't.
Well, we just discussed one at Red Shore Valley, so we know that they did. So please, don't be giving this information out. Thank you.
Mr. Roselli.
There was, but they were selective. It seemed Mr. Roselli said everybody has to have one.
Okay, so
we
then
want
there
to be
was
fair to everyone.
some, but not all, and there should be all. So thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. Okay, do we have a motion for this?
I move C6, C7, C25 at the same time, developer agreement.
I thought C6 and C25 were tabled.
No, he didn't get a second. Okay. All right, so there's a motion for 6.
I'll second it.
7 and 25.
C6, 7, and 25?
Yes, this was from Dr. Greenberg and Mr. Merwin. No, to approve it.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Not voting yes for the apartments, I'm voting yes for the agreement.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes, we're protecting the residents.
9 yes.
Okay, next will be C9, Mr. Murphy.
Before I talk about that, is there a time limit on the meeting? It's like,
There is actually, I believe, 11 o'clock.
I think it's 11, John.
okay, number 9?
Yes.
Okay, try to just quick. What does that, the drainage improvement projects, the 413,000, I don't want to go through everything, but what does it include? Like all over different places of the town?
Mr. Murphy, I read in my administrative report, there's a list there.
I didn't get a copy, I'm sorry.
Oh, here, I'll give it to you, wait.
He's got it, he's got it.
Here.
You got it?
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, thank you.
See, Mr. Murphy, that's why the administrative reports are important. Has details in like that.
Yeah, like, read it. Oh,
Number 2, John.
take it off.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Motion.
Okay, John moved it, and Dr. Greenberg seconded it.
6.
Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Fisketti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is C11, Mr. Merwin.
It's going to be the same thing for C11, C12.
Okay.
Why? And what was it for?
Okay. Mrs. Shapiro?
There was coping that was on top of the retaining wall that had to be slightly wider. A little bit more topsoiling, a little bit more seeding, a little bit more fertilization that was required. When they put in the concrete and they started pouring the base of the wall, it was dissipating out. There was a little bit more volume, and we verified that with the concrete tickets from the truck.
Okay, 12. No, 12 is yours too.
C12 has to do with the arena roof, and that's extra steel work that they needed to reinforce. It was unseen until they had gotten up there to start the work. Project still comes to 277. Next responsible bidder was 484,000.
Very good.
Okay. Is that?
I'll move him if nobody else has any questions.
Okay, just so we know, C11 was 0.60% and C12 was 3.18%. Mr. Merwin moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
C11 and 12. But we
Yes,
can move.
both. Mr. Merwin and Mr. Cahill.
Both.
Yep.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Fisketti? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, C22, Mr. Merwin.
I just wanted to congratulate everybody for some foresight on this, keeping our volunteers sharp in their training.
C23.
Good use of an old car. Thank you.
It's him too.
Move it.
Second.
Okay.
C23 was.
All right, moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Fisketti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, C23, Mr. Merwin.
26.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Anybody see 23?
Somebody had 23, wasn't it?
Yeah, who's C23? I have it circled.
I do too.
What's it about?
Morganville Road?
Morganville Road.
Okay. Then it wasn't? All right.
25 is circled.
Yeah, we got that. That passed already. C20.
You know what, let's move it just in case.
Yeah.
Move it.
Second.
Yep. Okay, move it by Dr. Greenberg, second. All right.
It was.
Mr. Rizzoli. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my sister.
Yes, C23, just in case.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Cahill? Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Fisketti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, C26, Mr. Murphy.
Okay, I have a question. Is that over the quote bid hold?
No, no.
What's the quote bid hold
We
threshold?
have, quote, the quote, yeah, we received, what's under contract, right?
There's a time and material
Right.
contract that we authorize. The council authorized the vendor under the time and material.
Why was there only one vendor?
There were, I believe there's more than one vendors, but when we go out for bid for time and material contract, and then we select the top vendor, the lowest cost vendor would give us the quote. If it's reasonable that we think, that then we award him to award him the work, because you already awarded the rates.
Do you know what the next bid, I'm not going to forget it, that's good.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah,
Okay,
why
Mr.
wasn't it
Merwin?
done under the ESIP program?
This was not included in original EC plan. There is an HVAC system inside the computer room, but it's failing, and EC program is almost awarded 3 years old. We weren't going to make changes to that.
All right.
Anyone else, any comments or questions?
Move it.
Move it, okay. Mr. Merwin, second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Piscitty.
What's the last one?
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yeah.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Song?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is C27, Mr. Merwin.
Yes, this is for the mass assembly ordinance.
Tough Mudder.
Tough Mudders. We've had this problem in the past where they haven't gotten them. This one, they applied for it, but we don't seem to be following our own ordinance. In their application, they say they're going to get 10,000 spectators on Saturday and 5,000 spectators on Sunday. They haven't put in the EMS for their, for that portion of it. It says they gave it to fire. I don't know what fire has to do with EMS. The ordinance calls for 2 doctors and 4 nurses. And we got none of that. And the last time we were there, there was like 8 first aid calls there, and they never made any arrangements for the transportation of the patients, which put a very heavy toll on the local resources. They're out there running back and forth with patients, and people are getting sick in town and not, having a delay to respond. So I don't know who reviewed this or who gave it, but it definitely is not conforming to the ordinance. So I will be voting no.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, so do I have a motion for C27?
Council President, maybe, Councilman Merwin, maybe you want to, because of the timing, maybe you want to approve it subject to with those conditions incorporating in that, and then clerks can then notify them. Well, but because the next meeting is October 8, there's no time to approve it in between.
Well, we caught them the last time not conforming to it, and we did absolutely nothing.
There was a change in staffing there, they admitted it, and so all I'm saying is that if you approve it with the condition...
I'm not trying to put Raceway Park out of business. What I want them to do is conform to the township ordinance, the mass assembly ordinance.
Agreed. All I'm suggesting is that if you approve it with this subject to condition, then will clerk's office and obviously police department will inform them and make sure that they comply.
I will make a motion that that we grant this as long as they conform to the ordinance as written, that there's the proper amount of police, the proper amount of fire, the proper amount of EMS, and everything else, the toilets, the doctors, the nurses, and everything else that go with it. This is $1 million gig right here. That's the kind of money they make on this thing. So, because they have to have it right in town, I'm not going to feel sorry for them. So I move it with those conditions.
Okay. Is that
acceptable?
Is that?
It is, it's fine.
Okay, so.
They have to meet the ordinance requirements.
Right, they have to follow the law. Okay, so that's the motion. All right, by Mr. Merwin, do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill? Yes. Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscotti? Yes. Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Somo?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, C28, Mr. Merwin.
Yes, I found out what it was after I moved it. I wish there was some backing documentation on this. I mean, all there was the sheet, and it said certification of funds required. This is for the jet.
Yes.
All right?
it's a GIF renewal. The next one is a medical renewal, our health plan renewal. And there's resolutions in the package. I believe there's a resolution provided.
Jeff, it's for a 3-year, right? Is that normal? Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. And what we plan to do is that probably later this year, our risk manager will be here. They have come here before, and I think we had a lengthy discussion and showing the savings that we have generated from moving to the NGIF and the benefit. So they'll be here later in the year in the meeting to explain. Okay.
All right. Can we do the one, just 28? Okay, so do I have a motion for 28?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Pescitti, second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kale?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next is C30, which will be Mr. Merwin.
This is for the renewal of medical benefits with Horizon. Did we get other quotes?
Yes, we started with 4 quotes, and in fact, Horizon original proposal was in double-digit increases, or 30% increase proposed originally. And since then, we had received quote from Aetna, Cigna, and United Healthcare. There's 4 proposals. We did seriously consider Cigna's proposal. In fact, we had a meeting with all the union representative and township staff with the Cigna representative. But Horizon ultimately came down and lowered their premium from all other competitive proposal. And that's why we recommended to stay with the renewal. I can tell you that while employees were willing to consider moving because of the large increases requested Horizon, employee would prefer to stay with Horizon. That's their, everybody has a choice. The change also, and fortunately, we were able to accomplish that.
Who sat on the selection committee?
In selection, well, selection committee is done, the negotiation is done by administration. We did present it when we were thinking about making, we were looking at potential making change. We had all the union representative, local, the township employee representative. We had a meeting with all of them. We had a couple of meetings. And what we have done since last negotiations, and we successfully negotiated with every union, we have committed that we will have union membership involved in all our health insurance selection. Because this affects employee, they have a now stake in it because they have a contribution. So we felt it's appropriate they participate in a review process. And so the union we have several meetings with the union membership on this renewal.
Well,
Anyone else?
this was what, a fair and open process like? Because this is, what is this? This is.
Actually, you don't have to,
what
because
is this?
insurance is is an exemption because they're state regulated.
Yeah.
That's one of the items where you don't have to do an RFP, where you're able to just negotiate directly with the different vendors.
And how long have we been with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
I mean, 25 years or plus I'm here, we've been with Horizon.
And you don't think that by continually staying with Blue Cross Blue Shield, that these other insurance companies aren't going to, like, say, I'm not even going to waste my time and effort and money to apply for these, when you put out for these bids?
Councilmember, we have 4 proposals. So if they were not interested, they would not have proposed.
Well, you said you were seriously close to going one of them. Was it a lot less money? We don't have any of this back in document that.
Horizon originally first time around the renewal was 30% increase in the rate. We rejected their offer. We went out, we got 4 proposals. They range from almost 5% to close to Horizon proposal, over 20%. And so the lowest proposal was from another carrier. We were considering going with them, but then Horizon ultimately came back, and they had other negotiation that had lowered from 30 down to almost 8, but then they came down to with 4. And so we accepted their offer at 4, and that's what we recommended you.
I saw where it was 8 point something, wasn't it?
That was roughly the
That's
rate.
the one you're asking us to approve now. It had a 4% medical, 4%.
No, it's 4%.
Prescription.
I think.
With a combined, and adding the eyeglass to it.
The vision plan is included in that, and combined is 4%.
That isn't what it says.
Composite rate increase is 4%, yes.
It says 4% medical, 4% prescription, and you added the eyeglass to it. That is not what our back-end documents
I can tell you it's composite 4%. Without prescription is 3.84, but there's an increase from our current carrier to prescription, so the net result is 4% composite rate.
And you said you had a 5% from another carrier, which was below Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're not interested in saving that money, or?
No, they are 1% above the Horizon. They're about 5% composite.
Okay, that isn't what my back-end documentation says. All right, very good.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
C31, Mr. Merwin.
Councilwoman, I apologize, but I just remember one thing. I want to advise council that even with the 4% increase, the rate is below 2 years ago. We had the rate we had. We had a 10% decrease last year from the same company.
Okay. Thank you. So C31, Mr. Merwin.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe the answers were provided by Captain Gumprick,
I make a motion.
and there you go.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, Dr. Greenberg.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is C32, Mr. Merwin.
Yes, this is for a settlement of, I guess, violating the Oprah request. How, was this an interpretation of the law that?
No. Actually, my understanding is there was a request that had been sent to the clerk's office. There was some type of delay in responding to the request. The documentation was provided to the requestor, who then apparently had agreed after, who was satisfied. My understanding, again, Mr. Lazier had handled negotiation with the attorney. If again, yeah, and still can follow up. And I think initially they had agreed, they were satisfied, and they weren't going to file a complaint. And then, unfortunately, the attorney, I think, went ahead and filed the complaint because he indicated that he wasn't satisfied with the content of the information provided. Ultimately, he did get it. So under the law, once it's, you do that and you're given the information, you have the ability to seek attorney's fees. But that's how it came about, and Stella can provide more detail.
The Oprah request was missed. It was in with about 300 other emails, and I bypassed it in error. When I went back a couple of days later to recheck, I found it. So it was missed, it was late. As soon as I saw it, I emailed him, but as Mark said, it was already late. So that's why that's there. It's been taken care of. It was taken care of as soon as we saw it.
All right. I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Merwin and second by Mr. Murphy.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sola?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, we're going to just change this up a little bit. We're going to move to the action item next. We're going to move the action item next.
I'd like to move executive session up too, please.
Okay, let's start. John, can I start with the action item, please?
Don't we have to take a vote?
Yeah, I want to move that one up first, okay? All right, so the action item is resolution to override veto by mayor of ordinance number 2018-16.
So again, I'll just remind council members, if you vote yes in the affirmative for the resolution, then you're voting to override the mayor's veto of the ordinance, and it requires 6 votes in the affirmative in order to override ordinance number 2018-16.
All right. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this? Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move it.
A second?
Second.
Okay, so it's moved by Mr. Pescitti, and it's second by Mr. Murphy.
Should I say something?
Would you like to speak, Mayor?
Yes, it's been,
Okay,
it's
no,
been a
that's
while.
fine, go right ahead.
Well, I provided the council upon my veto and why I thought that I should veto this, out of respect for the mayors that sat here before me and are responsible for the people that are going to sit here after me, that checks and balances remain here in Old Bridge. The mayor should always have the ability to come and put something on the agenda. I represent the entire town, all the constituents, and sometimes in doing business, the mayor has to come and do what he has to do sometimes. And no individual should get in front of the mayor, no matter who he is, no matter, that's checks and balances. It's right in the Constitution, as all of us like to point to all the time. And in fact, the example is given in the book that the mayor or the president has the ability to veto something that he thinks is wrong when it gets in the middle of checks and balances. So I think it's obvious if you read the statement why I'm vetoing this. It's in the best interest of the town. It's in the best interest of the council. I would never impose the will of the mayor. You've seen me over the last 7 years come before the council and ask you permission to change your ordinances. Don't put a roadblock in front of the mayor's office. It's not fair. It's not. I don't believe it's constitutional. And you always have the ability to vote no. I can come here and you can put something, you have the ability to vote no. But I don't think you should have the ability to stop me from debating you. So that's my statement. I would hope that you uphold my veto, and I promise I will continue to protect the office, and I will continue to implement checks and balances to make sure that they stay in place. It's important that the mayor, the council, the legal, everybody does their role in this type of government. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Are we ready to vote? Mr. Pescitti?
Yes. Mayor, absolutely, you have the constitutional right within our Faulkner Act to veto legislation that this body passes. That's your right. It is also our right to override your veto when we think that it should be. Now, I counted votes, and I can't count to 6. So you know, I'm not gonna vote yes, okay, because that's just silly, okay? But the issue for me is, being new on the council, is that you are the administration and you are you're the executive branch of the government. We are the legislative branch. So when there are ordinances that are being put forward, they need to be put forward by the legislation. Now, you can have someone sponsor that. You can have a council person sponsor a law that you want to get passed, and that would be your prerogative. But the reason why I thought that we should change the ordinance is I felt that the council is the legislative body, and we are the ones that we should be enacting laws or changing our ordinances, and not the administration. And if the administration really wanted something changed, then they should have somebody on the council sponsor it for them. And that was where I was coming from. And I thought that the good separation of powers, where the executive would have their power and the legislative branch would have our power. And
I'm just going by, you know, what the ordinances have been. They've worked in the past. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. Let's agree to disagree. I believe the mayor should be able to come before the council at any point without having somebody to sponsor it. What if somebody doesn't want to sponsor it? Why take that ability away from the mayor to have an open debate in public where you could vote no?
Say this piece.
Okay. I
think it's in the best interest of
disagree,
the
that's
residents.
fine.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second, so let's just go to the vote, please, okay? Thank you.
Mrs. Brown? No. Mr. Cahill?
No.
Dr. Greenberg?
No.
Mr. Merwin?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Mr. Pescitti?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
President Soha?
No.
Thank you, council.
Okay.
9 no.
All right, now. There was a question of moving up the executive session. I don't know if everyone was in agreement with that or whether we go on with the discussion. Yeah, we're going to do public comments naturally first, okay? So is anyone in the public wish to speak? Come forward, please. If we can go quick.
Hi, Nell Jammett, 10 Utah Drive. I'm back on the parking issue. What do I do if my car is in the shop and I have to go to work? Where do I park? There's no provision made for me to, should I put my regular car number or my rental car number? What do I do in a case like that?
You have to come in for a temporary permit.
Okay. Second thing, what if, as it happened to my neighbor, people who are going to New York Saturday, she didn't know that the system had changed, and she saw the new machine, and she figured, well, let me put my dollar in it. And it told her she did not have an account, so she could not park in the parking lot on Saturday. So she was looking all around, where can I park? Well, she went over by Walmart and she parked, but she took a chance. What provision is made for people who are going to New York on weekends?
You have to come in for a temporary permit.
Well, we need to put it on the website or something that the residents would know. I mean, you come into New York a Saturday to see a show, and it was the last minute thing. If they decide Saturday morning they're going to come in Saturday or Sunday, how do they get a temporary permit?
Saturday and Sunday were closed. If they know they're going into New York, they can come into us during the week.
Well, like I just said, suppose it was the last minute thing and they decided Saturday morning or Sunday, oh, let me take the kids into New York City to Rockefeller Center.
Well,
There's
Stella, I don't think that weekend parking with the required permit has changed. That's in our ordinance from always a procedure.
I am
So
speaking.
before, there was an honor box. People put dollar into the honor box. But to park in designated parking area of the township, the current ordinance calls for permit required. So, without permit, they can't park. But at the weekends, there's New Jersey Transit lots are available. It's not necessarily only township lot to be parked for. So I'm not sure, and I'm pretty sure on weekends, there's plenty of space available in New Jersey Transit lot. Even if she was not sure, but I gone there Saturday, since we tried to implement, I see people parking there.
But I'm sure most of the people that park there on Saturday are people who have regular permits.
Yeah, but that is always required. This new parking payment system has nothing to do with requiring permit on the weekends.
I know, but what I'm saying is, she doesn't have a permit. She was going to New York. Before you just park in a spot, you put your dollar in the box and you go.
No, not without permit. That was not necessarily approved.
Saturdays and Sundays?
Yes. Yes.
I never knew that. And number one, I think paying $1 on Saturday for the residents to go, if they want to go to New York, I don't see why they should be paying $1.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Mr. Schott, on the parking, the library gives out free passes to the Museum of Natural History, to a couple of other things over there. What do those people do? Can we make arrangements with the library that we give them a temporary permit and when they give out that thing, that they have a temporary parking permit and they can forward it to the clerk office?
But my next question is, if I live in Old Bridge,
yeah,
I'm paying taxes to Old Bridge, I'm going to New York, why should I go and park in New Jersey Transit parking when I live in Old Bridge and there's an Old Bridge parking lot?
The Old Bridge parking lot are user-free system, just like Arena is user-free. There's a lot of things that people, residents use, and they pay for fees. They go to recreation program, they pay fees. There are certain fees set to run those programs. If they're not, let me finish, if they're not paid by the fees on those things, obviously the entire taxpayer would have to pay for it. It's just like you get a separate bill for use of water, sewer system, right? So the New Jersey, the township provides certain services through the normal businesses, and there are other businesses on the user fees, and parking is user fees. When we paved those parking lots payments were made out of the fees collected from the users. So if the user is not using parking lot, doesn't commute, doesn't park there, that's the concept under user-free approach. So because you pay taxes, you live in residence, there are other services you are given as part of that. But the parking, just like Arena, using Arena, is user-free because not everybody uses those services.
So, I hope the residents of Old Bridge, if they didn't hear this or they're not watching this, that they continue to find out somehow, because I think it's really unfair that if you live here and you pay taxes here and you want to go to New York on Saturday and it's the last minute thing, you get up Saturday morning, well, you can't park in New Jersey in Old Bridge parking lot. You have to park in New Jersey Transit parking lot. Why? Suppose New Jersey Transit say, no, well, you can't park here. Where do we park?
The transit lot is open for anyone. There's New Jersey Transit is not going to say do not park here.
But do they collect quarterly fees?
I don't know what their fee structure is, but I don't believe so. But if you park in New Jersey Transit lot, you pay $2 a day.
$2 a day only for the handicap, because I parked there when we did not have enough handicap spots. The only other $2 one is the parking lot behind TGI.
Mrs., is it, pronounce your name again?
Gemin.
Would you be open to just emailing or calling me? I gave you my phone number.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we can discuss this further, okay? That would be great.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Why should I park in New Jersey Transit? There are quarterly fees. I think it was, when it first started, it was $76 a quarter.
Not know New Jersey Transit fee structure, so I can't tell you what fees they charge.
But I still say it's unfair for us to have to park there when we can't, we don't pay fees to New Jersey Transit unless you are a quarterly person and you park over there, you can go and park. But like my neighbor, she doesn't go to New York. She can park in the Township parking lot where she paid the taxes to. She has to go, and she couldn't park in New Jersey Transit either. She didn't have a permit to park in New Jersey Transit. Provision has to be made for people like that around here. We pay a lot of taxes. And I'm asking that the ramp, the main ramp that we use to the bus, be fixed. We pay enough money for that, more than enough. It was 16 years before it was fixed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think, Ms. Murphy, I think your concern is about the time limit on the meeting. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
You're concerned about this?
I'm asking, we're almost done, can we just finish the whole meeting?
Yeah, so what we can do is, you can, if you were concerned, we can do a motion to extend the, yeah, right. So let's do a motion. Let's do a motion. No. Sit down, young fella. Jeez. We don't need help from the public. Can we have a motion to extend the a meeting to 11:30?
Okay, do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Rizzoli, second.
I'll move it.
Mr. Merwin, seconded.
Who seconded it? You better second it.
Second. I thought Mark.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Oh my God, this.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Getty?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Mrs. Soha?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
Okay, we're on, guys, till 11:30. All right, next is,
Public comment.
yeah, public comment. We're going to continue until we're done with public comments.
Oh, Sarah Obridge, earlier this evening you spoke about a development called Red Shaw. You indicated that there was a builder's agreement, and later in the meeting you indicated that's done to protect the public, and the mayor indicated how all the professionals get together and make sure it's right, and it don't matter what you do. If there was a builder's agreement between that developer and Old Bridge, and part of that agreement was that the commercial was supposed to be built, obviously there were bonds put up. Do we still have those bonds? And if so, and they didn't comply with the agreement, why aren't we cashing in on those bonds? Also,
That's a process in of itself.
I know, I built. Also, after the housing was done, they have to put up a maintenance bond. It's usually 15%. Now, if you still got that maintenance bond and they didn't comply with the builder's agreement for the commercial, I think you can cash in on that too. So all this planning and making these deals, if these things aren't enforced, then the contract's no good. Simple as that. You can do all the builder's agreements. I can't get away with anything where I build. They'll cash my money in a heartbeat. You should be doing the same thing. And I know this happened before now. I'm serious. That commercial should be up. How did they get COs if the agreement said you can't get a CO until X, Y, and Z is done? So enforcement is just as important as the agreement itself.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
That's exactly right.
And I'm giving you a striped shirt.
Thank you very much.
Anita, she's got it.
What?
You got it.
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize she left the room. I'm sorry. There you go.
Mr. Sarah dazzled us, that's why.
Yes, I thought he had more to say. Okay, any more comments from the public? Okay, closing the public portion. And we decided, are we having council members before we go, oh, discussion items. Okay, discussion item D1. Amending Old Bridge Township Code, Chapter 250-6, entitled Definitions Ordinance. Engineering, thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Council, this is actually a long time coming. You heard Mr. Lopez before on the first public comment period. He had come up here and he had said that he wanted to finish his basement. And one of the hurdles that a lot of our families have, is that they have to come before our zoning board to finish their basement, especially when their gross floor area exceeds what is permitted in that zone. Here with me tonight, I have Venus Sawan, our new township planner. So I think for most of you, she's a new face. She's been with my department for 3 months. She has proved to be a great asset to me, to our department, and to our township. She's going to present tonight some changes that we want to make, some minor changes in the definition, 2 definitions that we're talking about. That'll help our residents, somebody like Mr. Lopez, go ahead and finish his basement without the exorbitant cost of coming to our zoning board to get permission. So with that said, we're going to keep it short tonight with 6 slides and go through those definitions.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present the proposed changes for Section 250-6, definitions of the Land Development Ordinance, more specifically the gross floor area and the net habitable floor area ratio definitions. On the screen, you have the definition, the existing ordinance definition of a gross floor area and a net habitable floor area ratio. The text that you see highlighted is actually the cause of the inconsistency, and I'll talk about it in detail. I'll go back to, I'll just keep the screen on to the definition so that you can see what I'm talking about. But the inconsistency lies in the way the area is calculated. So based on the gross floor area definition, a residential building can exclude basements from the area calculation, while based on the net habitable floor area ratio definition, it allows you to just exclude unfinished basements, implying that if somebody wants to finish the basement, that has to be included in the area calculation. So in the past, our officials have been using the more stringent of the requirement. And so if somebody wants to finish their basement, they include that basement area in the floor area calculation. But what happens due to that is it exceeds the permittable floor area ratio requirement for that zone, and it triggers a use variance, a D4 use variance, and thereby making these applicants go to the zoning board for a use variance application. I was just talking to the zoning officer, and I retrieved some data from him. In the past 3 years, the zoning officer has reviewed almost 31 such permit applications, out of which 14 of them went to the zoning board and applied for a use variance, while 17 of them just withdrew because of the cost associated with the application. But what is interesting is the ones that withdrew, not that they didn't finish their basements, they did finish their basements, but there's a little hitch. In the net habitable floor area ratio definition, it allows you to add up only finished areas that are heated. So people put in their basements and did not provide the heating to escape going from the zoning board application. So in front of you is the list of people that applied. The rows that are highlighted are those applications that actually went to the zoning board for use variance. This is the proposed definition for gross floor area. With this one, what we try to do is just differentiate between non-residential uses and residential. So it now specifies that in residential buildings, finished and unfinished basements shall be excluded from the calculation. With the net habitable floor area, we just deleted what was existing because of the confusion between heated, not heated, and finished, unfinished. We rewrote the definition, and now it specifically mentions that walkout basements, attics, and half stories should be excluded from the definition. In conclusion, the proposed ordinance or the proposed changes tries to eliminate the inconsistency between the two definitions. It also will save homeowners from the process of going through the zoning board. It cost them almost $1,500 to get a zoning board application on the agenda and get it approved, be present at the night. I just want to reiterate, the proposed change does not change the overall size of the house, neither does it change anything for non-residential uses. So the change in the definition reflects only residential uses, and that the basements can be excluded. That's all.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you.
I'll move that we move it up.
Second.
Yep. So anyone?
This is a motion to move it for introduction.
Introduction.
Yep,
That's the word.
okay.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
Second.
okay, Mr. Merwin made a motion and Mr. Murphy made a second, correct? Okay.
I have a question. Town be at any risk for the 13 people, 14 people that, to refund their permit fees? Because we're changing the law.
There's a motion on the table, I have to take a vote.
Tony, this is government. You don't get money back.
Mrs. Brown?
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Fischetti? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next item is
And the
D.
response to that would be if someone has a pending application?
No, I'm talking about people that...
Well, no.
No, once
There's
it's
no
done.
back. Okay. All right. Next is D2, elimination of Robert's Rules from Conduct of Meetings, 5-22. Mr. Cahill.
Yeah, so, thank you. So hopefully this isn't controversial, we can get through this pretty quickly, but at the last meeting, we had a gentleman raise Robert's Rules and interrupted the meeting to discuss issues, and there was some discussion actually on the dais about potentially eliminating Robert's Rules. Since then, I've talked to our attorney, Mr. Roselli, and I've highlighted the area where it appears in our ordinance, and basically, if the Robert's Rules appears once, and if we were to eliminate the notation of Robert's Rules and then come up with our own rules of conduct, which could be, basically, we follow the agenda. I'm just proposing things, right? We follow the agenda. We're recognized through the chairperson, happens to be the council president, et cetera. We can avoid, I think, some of the things that occurred at the last meeting. Robert's Rules, I'm sure it was implemented with good reason, and a lot of municipalities follow it, but if you read Robert's Rules, it's very, very convoluted. That's the best way I can describe it. It's very difficult to understand. There's a lot of parliamentary stuff in there, as Mr. Roselli talked about at the last meeting. So my proposal is we back out of Robert's Rules, we come up with our own rules, so we can then follow the agenda, and we can conduct the meeting the way we feel we should conduct it. So that's my proposal.
Okay, anyone? Mr. Peschitti.
Yeah, I am for it. However, I want to see the new rules first, because there are things in Robert's Rules that make sense and keep things in an orderly fashion.
That was the point. We would come up with our own rules first. So
I want to see the new rules first.
You actually, the code, if you look at the code, there's provisions in there that talk about the conduct of meetings already. And a lot of those issues are already addressed. So, the big thing about Robert Rules really has to do with, dealing with when there's motions made, when things are put on the table, coming back off the table. A lot of it is common sense. So I think the starting point would be is if you look at the code now, it's pretty detailed as to the conduct of meetings, and then you can fill in some of the gaps, but I don't know that it needs to be, certainly doesn't need to be Robert's Rules, because any town who has Robert's Rules, nobody follows Robert's Rules, because there's no parliamentarian. I'm not a parliamentarian. People go to school to become parliamentarian. And again, as I said, Robert's Rules, the guy was a colonel from Great Britain from the 15 or 1600s, but he had nothing better to do. So he came up with these rules.
1876, actually. 1876.
Whatever, so I'm just.
Mrs. Chairwoman,
Yes.
I actually agree with both of them, and I think so we make sure everything's straight, we have a committee and have the two of them, somebody else form out exactly what we're going to follow. And it's, like I said, it's going to be mostly our rules, and if there's stuff in there you can look at it, just get it all done.
Okay.
What committee?
So,
I'm sure they named.
all right.
I always like the rules where you get your toughest person, we get our toughest person, and we just duke it out. I like that.
That's a good one. All right, so you're suggesting a committee?
Yes.
Okay, so you're suggesting a committee. Well, naturally, Mr. Cahill would chair it.
Yeah,
If that's
I would ask that the attorney be on the committee because.
Yes,
Yeah, that's fine. I think, you know, three
Okay.
members.
I don't want to make up
Right.
rules that we shouldn't be making up.
No, absolutely. All right, so Mr. Cahill.
We'll just sneak in the ability to fight rule. I like that one.
Okay, and now who else would like to be on the committee?
I'll join that committee.
Okay, Mr.
I'll volunteer for
Rizzoli.
the first fight.
All right,
There you
so
go.
Mr. Cahill, Mr. Rizzoli, Mark, and
That's it.
that's it? Okay.
So why don't you just do a motion to form a subcommittee
Right.
called the Rules Committee for purposes of developing rules of procedure for the council. And
Okay.
who are the members?
Mr. Cahill?
Mr. Cahill.
Mr.
you,
Rizzoli,
And Mark
yourself.
Rizzoli.
All right.
Rizzoli and Roselli, that's easy.
That would be-
Aye, this is,
So someone would make that motion.
okay,
I'll move it, please.
Second.
moved by Mr. Cahill. Yep, okay, very good.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Fisketti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next is D3, naming of the library. Dr. Greenberg.
Yes, as we spoke earlier, Mayor Henry really was the person who made the initiative to, Haney, to, what did I say? Art Haney, Henry, sorry. But Mr. Haney, Art Haney, my friend, and he had the vision of the library. And back in 1991, he realized the need for it in this town. And that was such a political football when he did it. But our library is revered all over the county. And who would ever think in 2018, when we have the internet, that there'd be so many people attending and utilizing that library? It's a multi-purpose area, and that's how it was built. It was open, open walls, so you really didn't spend money on renovations and things like that. And I know that people were complaining that it was a flat roof, and, you know, I had a building that was a flat roof, and that was just the architect, but that has nothing to do with the situation of what has happened, that it turned into such a phenomenal building. And this past year, we celebrated 25 years of the library being there. But I have some articles that go back from 91. One of the editorials was, "As library opens, leave politics outside." Library was worth the wait, wasn't it the headlines? Library is more than just a nook in Old Bridge. And Old Bridge dedicates the town library to the citizens, and that is the citizens. It's your place to gather, it's your place to meet. We have meetings there, there's concerts. It's phenomenal as far as with the children's programs, so it is great. And I will just tell you, when I moved to this town, I happened to come to a council meeting, one of my first council meetings. Just as I had a concern, and I was told to come here and address it. And when I did, it was my first council meeting, and I really didn't understand, you know, the people that were involved. I didn't even understand the form of government, because it was different from the town that I went to. But anyway, they were fighting over this library. And I went home to my husband and I said, they don't like libraries in this town. And I said, that's very unnerving for a new person moving here, where a library is such a phenomenal place, and really the nucleus in your town. And you can go in there at any time, and it's very active, every age group, there's a program for everyone. So I think Mr. Haney, our former mayor, really went through so much to get that library, and it's standing there for 25 years, and it is really a jewel in our crown to have that library in Old Bridge. So I hope my co-counsel agree with me for all the work that he put into this and having that vision. They really will support me and this initiative in dedicating it, so it will be called the Art Haney Old Bridge Public Library. Thank you.
Anyone else on this side have any comments? And Mr. Pischetti.
I think it's a great idea, and I 100% support it. As most of you know, I lived right across the street from Art Haney. He was Mr. Haney to me, and he was a great guy. And he became my political mentor and friend. And I recall when they were going through this library, even people from his own party were fighting him. And he had the vision to do this. So I'm 100% support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll just close the comments by saying I am as well. I've known Mr. Haney also for 40 years, and I think what he did was phenomenal. There was so much controversy. People were calling it the Taj Mahal. It was just something that, people, it was a lightning rod, and I couldn't understand why as well. So I think it's a well-deserved honor, and I will be hopefully being supportive of this as well. Thank you. Do we have a motion to move it up?
I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg and second by Mr. Pischetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Gale?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Zohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be D4, nepotism ordinance, removal of police, and this is Mr.
Point of order here.
Yes.
Rizzoli, would you mind if we brought this up after executive session? Would there be a problem? There's a reason, you know it.
I know it, or...
No, he does.
Oh.
Would that be a problem, Attorney, Mr. Attorney? The other Rizzoli.
No, you'd have to come in, the TV would be off.
I'll be quick. I'll be like 5-10 minutes tops.
There would just be no TV.
There'd be no television, though, right?
No
televised.
television.
It's up to council. I mean, certainly if council wants to do it.
I'm fine.
You can move to you can move to recess the meeting to go into executive session.
Well, I'm asking the chairwoman. She did it before. Can't you do it again?
No, John, that's fine.
No, it's executive session. You'll hear it after that.
Executive session, and then we come back out and go for the discussion item, correct?
Yes, they tie together.
But there may be action taken when we come
back. Right.
Well, no, not as a result of the executive session.
Oh, okay.
Why would there be action taken in executive session?
Not on the information in the executive.
Correct, right.
No.
On the rest of the agenda.
Oh, there might be. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
But we're going to so the motion would be, at this point, to amend the agenda.
Right.
Recess the meeting, actually going to move Resolution ES-1, which is the resolution to go into executive session. I'm going to have to amend it because we are recessing and we will be reconvening.
Okay.
So it'll be a motion to adopt ES-1 as amended for purposes of discussing personnel matter.
Okay, so...
I'll move it.
All right, and second? Okay, moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? President Zohar?
Yes.
9 yes.